Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Episode number 9 is with you for the next couple of hours. I say couple of hours, could go longer, could go shorter, who knows? But Jay's Fight Talk and Liam Tully are here with me for a full review of Beterbiev versus Bivol, plus preview of Adam Azim, O'Hara Davis, Tim Tszyu, background Murtazaliev. We've got a bit of William Skull and Vladimir Shishkin to get into. We've got a whole lot on this week's show. How are we, first of all, boys?
Tip top, man. Yeah, ready to unleash on the
fantastic. Same as Jay. Yes, same as Jay. So glad we're going tonight instead of tomorrow. I've been boiling over since the weekend. It's about time we get cracking, isn't it?
It sure is. We'll obviously start with Riyadh, Saudi Arabia last weekend. While we build to the crowd as usual, we will start with fights that probably didn't garner as much interest as others, rather than in chronological order, because Mr. Whitaker and Mr. Cameron provided a few talking points, didn't they? Even though they went on first, so we'll perhaps park that one up for a little bit later on in the show when we have more people with us. We'll maybe start with the first ever female women's world title fight that took place in Saudi Arabia between Sky Nicholson and Raven Chapman. I know all three of us gave Raven a decent chance in that fight, but Sky never really let her get into a rhythm, did she? She fought a beautiful fight, and I'll come to both of you with your reaction to the fight first of all. But one observation I want to make is that Sky's a very good boxer, really accomplished amateur pedigree. We know that from the off, but I think, we've discussed this many a time before. You can watch the first round of a fight and then you can kind of skip forward the next 9 and you pretty much know what's happened. Now, that's not necessarily a criticism, because it's hit and don't get hit, isn't it? But ultimately, when you're trying to, gain traction, gain more views on you, which they're trying to do a lot in the women's game. Look how much views Taylor and Serrano did the first fight, and I'm sure the second fight's going to do soon. Look at Taylor and naming Katie Taylor just because she's been involved in so many of them. Chantel Cameron, look at those fights and look at the reaction after those, and look how much media interest that they gained. Am I being critical of Sky there, Jay, or am I? No, what do you think?
No, I think you've hit the nail on the head. It is hit and don't get hit, but it is also an entertainment sport as such. She's not obligated to entertain the fans, but part of boxing is to win your fights and progress as far as you can. But ultimately, if you don't have if you don't entertain the paying public, the punters, us as fans, you don't necessarily get the fights you deserve, because it is about putting bums on seats, making people watch, people buying pay-per-views. And we have, who can I use as an example? Jack Catterall, for example, right? This is no disrespect intended to Jack Catterall, and I know my saying is respectfully disrespectful, but I'm being deadly serious, right? I've watched pretty much every one of Jack Catterall's sort of televised fights. First met him in 2013. I think he won something like an area title on an Amir Khan undercard at the Manchester Arena. And anyway, what I'm saying is Jack Catterall is one of the best natural boxers in his weight division, 140 pounds, in the world, hands down. It's not debatable for me. But unfortunately, biggest fight of his life, or one of the biggest fight of his life, is in 2 weeks. They are still doing prize giveaways. You can still buy decent seats. You can buy nosebleed seats.
Because that 99 times out of 100, that fight's going to a decision.
100, yep. Yeah, exactly. Right. But what I'm getting at is Jack Catterall is forever the B-side, and I mean this with the utmost respect. He's the B-side in his homecoming major headlining event, because more people know who Rougarou is, Regis Prograis, than Jack Catterall. And that's down to the fact that he's not necessarily best on the mic. He doesn't do much shit talking unless he has shit spoken to him, like the Josh Taylor sort of back and forth. But his boxing style is that slick that he barely gets put in danger. And unfortunately, people, unlike ourselves that are boxing purists, don't appreciate that. They want knockouts, blood, guts, and thunder. And Sky Nicholson falls, unfortunately, into that category. And especially with 2-minute rounds, she just starts to find a rhythm. The bell goes and she's sat on a stool. I think she definitely would benefit from 3-minute rounds because her style, she starts to pull away. She's going to wear her opponents down, whereas now that they haven't got that extra minute, they can catch the breath and you go through the motions, and most of her fights are 10-round UDs.
Yeah, we're really big on that, aren't we? Yeah, just before I come to you, Liam, we've got Pat's in the house. Big up DJ Pat. Absolute
yes,
Boxing's here, fresh off his show with Liam. We look forward to seeing that. How are you, Jack? Luca, regular Luca, how are you, mate? Hope you're well. Liam, I'll ask you this question from Luca, and then you can give us your thoughts on the Sky fight. So, do you think that'll put the Saudis off female boxing? And agrees with Jay's comparison?
I don't think so. I think they know. I think they know that they've got to do it. Sorry, Liam, go on. I'm just
oh no, you're good, mate. Because I agree with what you're saying. I don't think it's going to put them off. Look, it wasn't a horrendous fight. If anything, it was what I said I thought Sky Nicholson would do, in the sense that she'd just be too experienced. You just have a bit more boxing IQ in terms of where Raven is at the moment because of her amateur background, and it would unfortunately be that type of fight. Look, like you said, Sam, you watch 2 minutes of it, you watch 4 minutes of it, you go make a brew, you come back in round 6, it looks exactly the same fight. That's not a criticism. That is just, unfortunately, I think, to the detriment of 2-minute rounds for Sky as well. If she was doing 3 minutes, that would make a massive difference once you get into rounds 4, 5, and 6. But if Raven was more worn down, you possibly see Sky moving through the gears more. At the moment, I think Sky's performances are as much as she knows she can win her fights in second or third gear when they're 2-minute round with the level of opponent she's in with her ring IQ, as much as anything else. I think she would move through the gears more if the opponents granted her to, if the demands was there, if it was 3-minute rounds. But at the moment, she's very comfortable fighting how she is. And there's nothing wrong with that, because she is hit and don't get hit. And why that's also productive is she can then fight. This is her third fight this year. She's one of the most active boxers, male or female. That's the difference. And this comment here, her boxing IQ is on a different level. She can work off the jab. If she wants to win a round just by using her jab, she does. I think she won 2 rounds without throwing anything more than the jab on Saturday night, if we're being honest. And that's not a slight on her. That is just where her ability is. Her jab is such a rangefinder for her. If it's set like it was on Saturday, if she's got an opponent that's not creating puzzles for her to solve, she can win a fight that easily. Essentially, like the other hand's tied behind her back. She has that much faith in herself.
Yeah, I think the best. Sorry, go on. Yeah, I thought you finished.
I was going to say, just to cut off Round 1 Sports Talk, drop me a message on X. You'll see it on the bottom. If you want to look at joining us at some point, by all means you can, my friend. Unfortunately, we're already live tonight, but just drop me a message on the X that you can see below, and thanks for tuning in. Sorry, boys.
No. Look, bigger tests will come. The campaign for 3-minute rounds in female fights is gathering pace. There's only so long these old men in their blazers that take the 3% can ignore it for. At some point, they're going to have to do it, because females will just refuse to fight. They say, right, we're not fighting for your world titles if we can't fight 3-minute fights. And then, of course, the governing bodies who love the money, then all of a sudden 3-minute rounds will be a thing. It will get there. It's just taking time. But there's nothing. Look, Sky Nicholson now, she needs to move towards Amanda Serrano, because that's the other challenge for her in this division. But
yeah, do you think Serrano? Jack said she constantly levels above her opponents, doesn't want to risk doing silly things. Yeah, I agree with that, Jack. And
the best thing that could happen to her is to get put on her ass. She got put on her ass and had to get up and sort of find a way back into a fight. People would forget the fact that she's a Mayweather-esque. I'm not saying she's as good as Mayweather. I'm talking about he got a lot of stick later on in his career, but he was knocking fools dead in the lead up.
Yeah, he was selling outside the ring, wasn't he, Floyd? That's how he was getting people to tune in.
She's not got a very strong personality. The problem is, and I'll use Jack Cattrall again as an example. If you're not going to shit talk and you're not going to put it on people and you're not going to cause a ruckus at a press conference, then being a slick boxer's unfortunately not good enough. It'll win you fights. It'll get you to a certain, like she's a world champion.
I'm going to make you know cabbage though. That's
and that's what it's about, isn't it? Ultimately, it's about getting paid the most money. I think she's lucky that she's got on the Saudi card, because if not, she would find herself way down the cards like she was anyway, but not on Saudi on lesser bills where she get even less money. And she's a world champion, for God's sake. She's got one of the most prestigious belts in boxing. But unfortunately, I think she's just too good for her own good, if that makes even any sense.
Big up Dan Evans as always for joining, mate. I know it's
Dan.
quite a clip for this evening, but hope you're well, mate, and appreciate it as always. Sorry, Liam.
Sky's biggest opponent right now, in some respects, is complacency. And by that, that is me saying that because she feels like she can win fights in second gear, if she goes into a fight against another opponent of a similar ilk at the start of next year, but she's a bit more complacent, she maybe skips on a few runs, she misses out on a few sparring sessions because she believes she's more than capable of beating this level of opponent, she'll come unstuck. That to me is much more of a issue for her, I think, than level if she's going to stay at this level. That's why I'd like to see her move towards Serrano, because then we're going to have a lot of questions answered, aren't we? If she can stay in second or third gear, say, or look this effortless beating Amanda Serrano, then she is the real deal. She is a pound-for-pound female fighter. But we can't make that argument until we see her in with that level of opponent, because at the moment, it's all too easy for her, isn't it?
Yeah, way too easy for her.
Just a few more comments from the guys, and then I think we'll move on from the Sky and Raven fight. I don't think it's worth too much of the show tonight. No offense to either female, of course. Jack said, love to see her put a foot down, and like Jay said a minute ago, being in trouble might actually help her. Luca said, technically speaking, is there a better female fighter? You'd be hard pressed to find one, in my opinion. Luca, definitely. Yeah, she maybe holds her chin a bit high, but her reflexes are so good that she's able to do that. DJ Pat said, problem is Serrano fight. They should have him for Sky, but I think it matters on the outcome with Katie Taylor. Yeah, they'll do the trilogy there, Pat, 1,000,000%. The money's there for Taylor Serrano, 3 at Croke Park in Ireland for sure.
Money
yeah, it would actually be a boring fight, in my opinion, Sky against Serrano. I don't really see that one catching fire. But Taylor Serrano 2 and 3 are going to be absolutely epic. But we may as well go. Let's go, boys. Why not? Because we've covered Sky. Let's cover Ben Whittaker and Liam Cameron. Let's get straight into it. We've got a decent crowd.
Hold on a sec. Ow.
Sorry, no, what? You sprained your ankle?
On the,
Here we go. Right, so let's just set the scene a little bit then before we get into it, because we're still not really that much the wiser. Ben Shalom said he sprained his ankle, so on and so forth. I want to ask you guys a question, and I want the chat to respond as well, and obviously I'll pull up the comments. So whatever happened in the fight, did Ben Whittaker spew it? Did he quit?
Yes. Yes, it is.
No.
Did Ben Whittaker straight up? Did he spew it? Did he look for a way out?
No.
we got one yes and one no.
It's my petrol station best buddy, man. I can't do that.
Yeah, but put the agenda aside. I listened to the Fight Disciples earlier, and Nick was quite big on.
Nick was adamant. I heard him. He said he'd spewed. His ass dropped out, and Adam was a little bit more diplomatic.
Adam won't speak because he's on national radio, so he's not gonna.
Yeah, Adam's got more to worry about.
And I'm hoping to get there myself eventually. So no, I think
diplomatic Jay's fight talk. Get out of here! Get out of here!
Who is this guy? Who is it?
Absolute boxing's not on the fence anyway. I tell you that.
I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt, and that's got nothing to do. I know Liam more than I know Liam personally. Do you understand what I'm saying? So if anything, he couldn't smash my phone. I've met the guy. He knows how big I am. But no, if anybody would back Liam Cameron in this, it would be myself. I know him personally. He's very good friends with my little brother. They were under the same promotional stable. I was there at his debut, blah, 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 blah. Right? So if anybody wants good luck for Liam Cameron, it will be myself. So, you'd assume that I would call him Whittaker, but I'm a boxing man, right? And I don't like to think that fighters at that level will find a way out because it's coming on top for them. Me and Sam watched it together, and I had a different scorecard when it finished to what I've had since I've watched it back. But I'm not buying into this. He was looking for a way out. He was hurt. He was gassing. I'd literally just said it looked like if he's not careful, the tide could possibly turn here in the fight, and then bam, they go over the ropes. So I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt that he did sprain his ankle. He has hurt his neck. The tape on his ankle and the way that he ran at that kid over his phone doesn't back that up.
Yeah, so, and that's where that's where I'm now going the other way. I was with you, Joe. I wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt. I wanted it to be that he just was hurt, and for whatever reason, he made the decision that he was going to stay down and be carried out instead of trying to carry on and potentially making any injury worse.
Then you see the organic. I don't care what anyone says.
No.
Sit right. I mean, I ain't a fighter. I'm not going to call no one, names about not wanting to fight. And I say spew it's because I listen to that, and that's the word. But however, it doesn't look good. It doesn't look like Fraser Clark, does it? Put it that way.
No, totally different circumstance and totally different situation. But and you know what people are also glossing over? That Liam Cameron also contemplated pretending he was knocked out for a split second.
He did.
Pretend that didn't fucking happen. Liam were like,
yeah, he was. He better get up now.
Because Liam Cameron contemplated it as well. What did I say on the live? I said, they're after compensation. Where there's a blame, there's a claim. So there was a bit of skullduggery there.
He looks hurt. Yeah, I'm all right now.
I'm good. I think it was because you can hear Ben's corner screaming and Grant Smith screaming, and there's loads of people screaming. I don't know whether Ben's being told to stay down, maybe.
That's the claim from Grant Smith. Grant Smith has said he heard Whitaker's corner telling him to stay down. There's lots of audio that's come out today. In none of the audio I've heard can you hear that directly being shouted.
I can hear Grant Smith saying he don't want it.
Hear Grant Smith saying it.
Grant Smith was going mad in the corner. He was.
I think the thing for me is, and it's one of the comments we got here from Absolute Boxing, you can't see any angle where he's landed on his foot and now you're saying it's his foot that's hurt. Then you see him in the airport yesterday and you see the footage of him running towards that fan. I don't know if he was a kid, who it was, that individual, and smashing their phone. It paints a certain picture. And
the silence speaks volumes.
I'm not a fighter. I'm not going to start saying I respect what they do 100%, but he had a choice to make on Saturday. Liam, played dead for 30, 40 seconds and then decided he was going to get up. He could have gone down that path as well. They both
expressions did not look like a guy who was willing to go out there on his shield. Put it that way. That's all I'm saying.
And another thing I will say, the tide of the fight was starting to turn. Ben Whitaker was missing. Ben Whitaker was looking sloppy. Liam Cameron was coming on and having more success. Just as they were ended up over the top rope, you could make an argument that the momentum as the fight was changing. Was Ben Whitaker, maybe, who knows, Ben's been injured, not had the best training camp, not making excuses for him here, but did he think, if I bow out now, I save myself the embarrassment of losing and I can get a rematch early next year and, set the record straight? He could, it's a horrible thing if he has done it, but has he thought strategically more long-term? Do short-term damage to his career, long-term damage to some people online, they'll never see past this for him now, but short-term damage for his career to rectify it next year, as opposed to getting up, fighting, injured or whatever the situation was, and probably doing more damage to himself for his career.
I mean, look, I've torn two muscles in my ankle, right? One of them, I literally crouched down to do something. Bam! I tore my muscle that sits behind your shin. So I'm not saying he hasn't done an ankle sprain. We've all sprained our ankles. It's fucking painful. Do you know what I'm saying? But I do get that he didn't. The second he landed, he just didn't look like what. Because at one point, I've watched him. He's on his back, and then he rolls over. And as he's rolling over, he looks up. He looks across the ring. Now I don't know whether he's looking at his own corner or he's looking somewhere else.
In real time, to me, it
doesn't look good.
Yeah, we watched it on the live, James. In real time, it looked to me like Liam Cameron pushed him over the rope. But the more and more I watch it, Ben's
pulling him, I think.
Yeah, Ben's pulled him. Yeah, and I don't know, it just doesn't. Like Dan Evans has said here, it's like, this is a good summary of it. His last sentence, the whole thing was suspect. He knew he was getting beaten up. It's facts. It's absolutely.
I don't think. I won't say
Liam Cameron was on top in that fight. Liam Cameron was wailing on him. To be honest with you, Jay, sometimes I miss things in the watch-alongs. I watched it back since. Liam Cameron is he's having a field day in the last 2 rounds.
I had it 4-0 on the live when I've watched it back.
Sometimes you can get swayed in on watching the live. Lucas said he panicked. He didn't know what to do. Exactly. I blame Boxer for building him into something up he wasn't. He crumbled. Exactly. When you matched up against no one and you showboating, we said on the live when he wasn't showboating, but I think that actually helps him sometimes in his flow state. It wasn't Ben Whitaker out there. He didn't look like there was
no rhythm. His normal rhythm he's in was missing on Saturday.
Like a normal boxer, a very basic one at that as well.
I've just got one thing to say on the fact it went through a technical decision, and it irks me all the time in boxing. It's not just this fight on Saturday. Why on earth was the 3 seconds of round 6 that took place?
Round. Yeah.
Why was the round scored? Why does that happen? Because that doesn't make sense to me either. That fight was, you could see as that fight wasn't carrying on after halfway through the minute between rounds. Why? Just because 3 seconds went. Why is that round scored? That's something that's never made sense to me.
Shouldn't be.
It shouldn't be, because that, I'm not sure. What were the scorecards? That could possibly be the reason why we ended up with a technical draw. I'm not sure. I can't remember what the scorecards were. That
must have been 3-3 then.
No, well, the scorecards. How the fight was being scored at the time?
Yeah, how was it? Yeah.
What one had it to Cameron for a round, one had it to Whitaker for a round, the other had it to draw.
So there you go. What it could depend on is which, and the fact that 6th round counts towards it. That's the way in a draw. Yeah, that's the issue. The 6th round being scored never should have happened. It should have just been taken from the end of round 5.
I'm sick of this. Fucking leave Ben Shalom alone, man. All I'm seeing on X all day is getting hammered. Leave the kid alone, man. He's getting picked on by Frank, picked on by Eddie.
Ben Shalom
fucking Dan's piling in on him. Ben, I've got your back, kid. Need some help with your marketing, though, kid.
He's had a
this guy.
He's had an absolute. He's had a Reggie Blinken. To be fair.
Look, he has had a stinker, unfortunately, but everyone needs to stop piling on him.
He shot him early. Did you see Frank's interview with? I can't remember who it was with. No, he's saying that he's had it in the contracts that he needs to stand in the middle, and he's had it in the contracts that no one else has allowed him pictures with his fighters and this, that, and the other. That seems a little bit petty if I'm being completely honest. But
I think he's doing that off the back of the way he's being treated. I don't think he's just come out with that. I think he's trying to go tit for tat because they're ganging up and bullying him out there. Let's be real. Ganging up and bullying him.
Let's give Ben the rest of this year. He's got the Riyadh season Latino card where he's got to deal with De La Hoya and Hopkins. Well, De La Hoya more.
De La Hoya will probably be on his side because he doesn't like.
He hates Eddie.
Don't like Eddie, does he?
He's back in his lane this weekend. He's back. It's just the boxer show. He doesn't have to deal with Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn. He's going to be back in his own domain.
It's great for Ben, though. It's great PR for him. He's getting more known, and he's getting. He
needs to flip it more. He can market this so much better than what he is, and Jay knows what I mean. He can flip this to his advantage.
He just can't talk. He's got no personality. Bless him. He can't talk.
He's shy. Like this press conference day tomorrow for Saturday night's cards, and you know how Ben's going to be. It's going to be dull as dishwater. I might turn it on my lunch break if I want a nap, but it's not something sparkling. He's not a salesman like Eddie Hearn. He's going to give you a 10-minute eulogy.
He needs a right-hand man who can do that. He needs a right-hand man who can talk because Jay's fight talk.
Come on, man. What do you mean, Ben? What's happening?
Because he does, obviously Frank Warren has his sons that do. Frank and Eddie are good talkers, especially Eddie. And Frank Smith obviously does a lot of his operations.
I won't let Callis Howland push you through a wall, Ben.
Yeah, Callis Howland's going to put him through a wall. Yeah.
Put me through a wall, Calla, because I know you can't lift.
There you go, Jack. Absolute Boxing's an advocate for you. Jay's fight talk to boxer.
The offer's there, Ben. I'm a sales and marketing professional, as Liam is. We can help you, man. I know boxing.
We're there.
Ben Shalom for interviews. He absolutely loves him.
Talk numbers.
Delicious TV. I'm sick of hearing about it.
I know. I'm not a big fan of that delicious thing. Dan, so let's see how much longer he has left.
He's bullying his way through with a microphone. That's
people
into interviews.
I know, yeah. That's funny. I forgot about that. Dan Ben Whitaker's maybe headline in the US.
Might be like Liam Ben Whitaker in America.
Yeah, but you know what? Just before we leave, Ben Whitaker
Liam won't get a visa. Liam won't get a visa.
Yeah, no, Liam's got no chance. Jason personality is a British player last week. Yeah, he did. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Sorry, Ben. Brother.
Problem is Ben Shalom's trying to be someone he is not correct. DJ Pat, you're absolutely right. Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren are career talkers.
I think the problem with Ben is he's not acting and trying to be something he's not. That's why he's so uncomfortable. If he was acting and doing a persona, for example, I do it at work. I'm not the same person at work as I am as the husband and father that I am at home. I click into this sales persona or marketing persona when I'm dealing with clients or dealing with my colleagues. Dylan always says that I'm two totally different people. Get me outside of work, I'm as I am now. Get me in work, I'm a little bit different. I think Ben needs to just continue being himself. But I agree with you. He needs somebody as the head of boxing, maybe, or the head of boxing marketing. He needs somebody that can shit talk, doesn't mind dealing with press conferences on his behalf. I don't know where that guy might be. I think he needs to be bald, have a bit of a salt and pepper beard, like a yellow skin tone, like a Simpson, for example. Ben, give us a shout. But no, in all seriousness, he's not made for TV, is he? He's not. No, he's uncomfortable. Not. You saw him last week when he was having the interview with Kugan Cassius, so they all know, so they should be fairly comfortable. And Dalton Smith walked over. Ben went red, started fumbling, didn't know what to say. Now, Eddie or Frank would have gone, here, Dalton, come here. So, what? We're scared of you, are we? You're going to see. Wait till next year. Adam's going to get this out of the way, and then you're getting it, kid. You both know it wasn't us that pulled out and blah, blah, blah. Do you know what I mean? But instead he just went, no, we are going to make the fight. Well, we didn't. It wasn't me. He's uncomfortable, as I said. Personality of a breeze block, unfortunately.
There's a lot of love coming in for Jay's fight. Talk in the comments here. I'm just going to pull.
You need to all start lobbying. Don't tell me. Tell Boxer. Don't tell
Jay,
me.
it's a fellow salesperson. You're right. Ben's not capable of it. Admin in another life. Love it. I'd put Jay in charge of Boxer. Dan Evans
tell
says.
Boxer then.
Absolute boxing. They can imitate you, Jay, but they can't duplicate you, Jay. Well, there you go. Right. Last one on Ben Whittaker versus Liam Cameron. In my opinion, in my humble opinion, if Ben Whittaker takes the immediate rematch, it will tell me a lot about what happened.
100%. He needs to come out.
Does he take it? Does he take it immediately? I'm not talking about in 2 fights time.
He has to. No, listen. If Ben Whittaker fights anybody else, right, his career, I wouldn't say it's ruined, but he needs to come out and say, listen, I don't care what any of you think. I hurt my ankle. I know what's wrong. Liam Cameron, I'm going to fucking put you in a body bag. I'll see you after Christmas. Bam, done. He's not big on social media.
He's wearing a T-shirt saying he was going to body bag him, and
that's what I'm saying. He needs to do something along those lines, and then just leave it at that. He don't do, believe it or not, he don't do that much social media. He's barely on there. So just put a statement out, do a video, say you're getting it, son. Have a nice Christmas, and bam, I'll see you next year.
Big dosser. Dan Evans, Boxer will ignore me like they do purse bids. That's quite funny. Right, moving on then from Liam. Does he take the immediate rematch?
Yeah, I think he will. He has to, and I don't even think Boxer as a promotional company could deal with the flack that would come if they try and push Ben in any other direction. They've got to save face and start 2025, particularly in the UK. Whittaker Cameron too. Once he's over his poorly ankle, so. Hopefully not too far into the new year. But being serious, hopefully the first 2-3 months of next year we get that. And you know what? What's happened since Saturday night? That's perfect, Ben, for you to do in the UK. You don't need to be selling your soul to Saudi all the time. You can actually do a UK fight night with this, and it will probably do you decent numbers. There you go. Again, me and Jay on the marketing for you, Ben. But that is a perfect UK fight night now. He's built himself up. If Dan is looking at it this way, you could do a nice card there. It builds you up in the UK and it shows that he's still serious. If this fight ends up on everyone takes the opportunities in Saudi, but if this fight does end up on another Riyadh season undercards, it says more about it because you now have the perfect platform in the UK. You don't use it for this fight. When is Ben and Boxer going to use it? That's another thing.
Just as a side note, is he GBM? I'm not as big time as these two are after Sky Sports contracts. I'll support the sport also. Dennis Hobson. Anyone, I'm not as flashy and big time as these two. I'll take anything.
Dennis,
just as a side note.
Serious. I know Dennis, don't worry about it. I'll hook you
up. Mr. Wayne Herman as always for joining us.
Yeah,
Fitness levels weren't there for Ben. Yeah, absolutely, mate. They were not. We'll move on from the Whittaker fight now. Ben wins a rematch, I think. Do you know what, Dan? You're probably on the money there, mate. He might have had bad prep. He didn't look himself, did he? Let's call it what it is.
And then when the rematches happened, can we see Liam Cameron get in the gym properly and get down to 160 where he's supposed to be? Because he's lazy at 175. He's a 160, 168 max.
Now he's with Queensbury. Queensbury. Hopefully he's going to have that time to do it, isn't he? It's his first
Troy Williamson will fight you at 160, kid.
Yeah.
There's a good fight.
This rematch, by the way, see with all this media attention that's happened, this rematch is going to be massive. See if it's in the UK, it's going to be absolutely huge. It'll be big if it's in Saudi too. It's going to gather so much attention, and all the rest of it. Because realistically, it stole a lot of the headlines from Saturday night, this Ben Whittaker situation. So we'll keep an eye on it anyway. We won't go on about it all night. We'll move on now. We'll go with let's go with Chris Eubank Jr. That was the next fight, wasn't it? After the two that we've covered. So he fought Kamil Szeremeta, wasn't it? Dropped him in the first round. Didn't it look like it might be over? Dropped him another few times after it. Finished it with dropped him a few times to the body, didn't he? Was it Body Shot that finished it? I can't remember. But anyway, Szeremeta didn't really offer a hell of a lot, did he? But we knew that kind of coming in. He'd been stopped by Munguia and Golovkin, hadn't he, before that? Any time he stepped up, he'd been stopped. But really, the fight was not really worth talking about. But Mr. Ben gets in the ring afterwards. Neymar Jr., the mediator. You know,
do you know what did my head in about that? So Chris Eubank Jr. had rehearsed this Spanish saying in his head, bearing in mind Neymar's Portuguese, but obviously speaks Spanish, being at Barcelona.
We'll stay past that. Don't detract from the story. Come on.
He said, "Let's go get that money, right?" And then Conor Benn said, "Yeah, we can go get that money. I'm ready now." And Chris Eubank Jr. went, "Can you translate, please?" And it just got dead. Because Conor Benn speaks fluent Spanish.
Why does he live there, didn't he, for years?
Yeah, I actually speak Portuguese, but I'll do it anyway. It was awful. Chris Eubank Jr. laboured to a win. I don't care what he said, knockdowns, stoppages. He laboured to that win. He struggled against the 5th best super middleweight in Poland.
But can I get a 2-time, though?
You mean free time, mate? You mean free time?
Yeah.
I think bigger thing for me, and before we go on oh mate, he put some serious work in the hotel for that, didn't he?
Thanks for joining us, Dave. Great comment, mate. Yeah, that was a serious barnet. That was.
Ric Flair.
Before we get into the Conor Benn situation, lads, got one of my analogies for you that I come up with every week. Conor, when you tell your kids don't play with your food. Conor Benn plays with Szeremeta like a kid's playing with his food for 5.5 rounds.
Junior did.
Sorry, Eubank Jr. Sorry, I've got Conor Benn on my hands. Eubank Jr. plays with Szeremeta like a kid's playing with his food on Saturday night. There was no... I mean, I'm not saying he should have put it in the first round.
I just think he couldn't get him out of there. He's not that good a boxer. His IQ's not there. I don't think he knows what to do.
He's not that good a boxer, but at the same time, if you're able to drop an opponent in round 1, regardless of whether it's glancing blow, off balance, etc., at least show a bit about wanting to then go about getting the finish.
He looked laboured, didn't he? Like for a lot of that fight, definitely.
He went back into his
shell. Were awkward, and he didn't know how to deal with him.
I buy that argument, but at the same time, look, 5th best fighter in Poland, Chris Eubank Jr. is now a 3-time IBO world champion. That's regardless of Eubank's boxing ability, you could see from within the first 30 seconds the way the fight was going. We got the result we expected. For me, it took too long. And maybe I'm doing a disservice to Szeremeta, but if Eubank Jr. is the boxer he says he is, which we know he's not, but even if he had an ounce of that in him, I expected him to do it earlier than he did.
Couple of rounds. If somebody else,
that's what I think.
Pick a super middleweight, John Ryder, Billy Joe Saunders, Callum Smith, Rocky Fielding, they'd have smashed him to pieces. No disrespect to him, but he's not that good.
That's my point, mate. That's my point. Eubank Jr. just went about it for too long, especially for getting a knockdown in round 1. Look, I'm not saying I wanted him to finish it.
Do you think he didn't fight Canelo?
Say that again.
Why do you think he didn't fight Canelo's? Because he knows he wouldn't have had a chance.
He'll get filled in. He's not stupid. His dad always said, "Nah, mate, you're getting filled in if you fight them." He's not daft. He's not stupid. He's pretty clever.
Smart guy, Chris Eubank Jr. He's smart as anything.
He's made absolute bags of money being domestic European level at best. He's a European level fighter for me. He's not a world level fighter.
But it's obvious that it's going to go in the Conor Benn direction now.
Well, that's where the most money is.
It's where, and that's my point. It's money, isn't it? It's money because there's not going to be. Oh, he'll get to defend his IBO belt, which he'll love. He'll get a defense of an IBO belt. We'll be over the moon with. But on a serious note,
how is Conor Benn in the BoxRec rankings? Number 2.
Yeah, answer this one as well, Jay. Answer this one. Robert Smith and Conor Benn all cozy.
Mate.
Conor Benn and Robert Smith. After all that's gone on with the British Boxing Board of Control and Conor Benn.
Where's the statement? Where's the statement to us as fans now? Fans that pay to come to the shows, the fans that pay.
The silent ban. Did I not tell you about a silent ban potential the other week? Didn't I say
that? 3 years, they'll be ready to box in March.
Well, no, of course that's what happened. But don't take us for flipping
Riyadh season show.
Around. Don't take us for mugs as fans thinking we're going to sit around and just accept him coming back into a fight.
But that's the thing, Liam. They do take us for mugs.
They've made a big enough deal about him having to go out and fight in America in his last 2 fights because he can't fight in Britain. You can't now just bring him back to the UK. What's this coming? We just saw the answer.
I don't know if he does, Dave. I don't know if he does. Beat that 41-year-old there is landing.
Lara will beat him on points.
Lara's got a thing called a heart, a work rate, and a bit of dog. And all 3 of those things, Eubank Jr. is suspect in, if you ask me. And he'll expect to blow him out of there in 4 or 5 rounds. And when he doesn't, he's not going to know what to do. And Lara will just put the box.
He'd have took the Lara fight by now. He'd have fought him by now if he wanted it, Eubank. That fight wouldn't be hard to make.
It'll be like the Billy Joe fight. He'll be chasing shadows for most of that fight. Yeah. And then Arislan Lara, because of his age, will just cling on for the last 3 or 4 rounds. He's not winning the time. They'd have gone for that fight already. Why ain't he box Charlo? He's number 2, isn't he? Why ain't he box Charlo? Why ain't he screaming for Charlo? I'll tell you why. Because he knows Charlo will knock his neck in. It's that simple. He's not his dad. He's not as good as he thinks he is. No, I don't think he does think he's that good.
No.
He just tells us he thinks he's that good. But I think deep down, he's realistic.
He probably is similar to what you just said, Jay, but his persona to the public is he makes moves like he's a Canelo where he's done everything he can and he can handpick opponents to make the most money, when in reality, he's done flipping not even a third of what Canelo's done, for God's sake. Like, he acts like he's a former undisputed unified champion that's won.
He's been allowed to. He's been allowed to.
Unbearable. Ben, what Wayne's saying there, we don't know, Wayne. Is he banned? Is he not banned?
This is the point.
Yeah, exactly. But all we do know is very cozy with Robert Smith this weekend in Saudi Arabia. And do not be surprised what happened in that impromptu face-off that they had in that hotel lobby. What did they say? I'll do you in front of 60,000 people. Okay. And then he's there with Robert Smith. So what's going to happen?
Telling him to calm down, Connor. Calm down, Connor. Yeah. Calm down, mate.
It's Robert Smith. It's done. It's done for Spurs Riyadh season card or whatever it'll be. Turkey was the man in the ring as well when they were verbally facing off or whatever they're doing as well. It's all premeditated.
Robert Smith's a dog, man. He takes backhanders. I can't get a British Boxing Board of Control license, so I don't need to run. I don't need to keep this shut. Robert Smith is disgusting. He changes the rules to suit him. He gives bans out, backdated bans when it suits him. Conor Benn should have a statement released. We should know what's going on as the paying public. Those sanctioning.
If he comes out and fights without any statement and just brushed under the carpet, what kind of precedent does that set for?
It sets the precedent. It sets the precedent that we already know. You can
do
cheat
what they want when they want.
Yeah, you can cheat if you want, but if you can come back into something that's going to make enough money. Yeah, if you're going to come back into something that's going to make enough money, then we'll just brush it under the carpet and treat the public like mugs. And unfortunately, we're being treated like mugs. I fully expect a Chris Eubank Jr. Conor Benn fight announcement before we get a statement on what the hell is going on with Conor Benn.
I think you'll get that fight announcement before the Fury Usyk or in and around that Fury Usyk.
Yeah, we'll get the ban announcement this week. This week or next week, we'll get the ban announcement.
I think we're going to hear about Conor Benn in the coming days and weeks.
2 or 3 year ban, won't it? Be a 2 or 3 year retrospective ban, and it's good to go either now or March. So if it's a 3 year ban, it'll be back February, March time. If it's a 2 year ban, he's ready to go. Disgusting. One rule for one, different rule for whoever they want. It's not
who wins the fight? Just before we move on,
Junior will smash him to pieces. It's too little.
Yeah. Eubank, if it's going to be up in Eubank Junior's terms this time round, so Eubank all day long. Conor Benn is
Luca. It wasn't, was it? It wasn't just one handling of contaminated notes. What about the Sam Sheedy one? So let's not pretend that it's just one. I don't want to start kicking off but it's not as simple as people are making out. I think there was more than one, possibly more than one alleged positive test, allegedly.
I think even he's come out and said in recent times it was 2 tests now. So he's
there was
changed
one
his
before
story.
the Sam Sheedy, and then I think the Devil's Dandruff was touching contaminated notes. But people say it's a recreational drug, right? Yeah, nice out for you. There's a reason why athletes take Devil's Dandruff, because it stops you getting hungry and gives you extra energy. So yeah, it's classed as a recreational drug. It's a drug, should be on the banned list as a PED, just the same. It's only the same as taking an amphetamine-based medication. They're off the banned list. Why? Because they suppress the appetite and give you additional energy. Cocaine is exactly the same. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about Ben, who ate 30 eggs a day, and one of the eggs came off Canelo's farm, and it's accidentally made him have a positive test.
Right, his excellency. That's enough about his excellency. We'll move on. We'll move on for him. Chris Eubank Jr. If I'm him, I make Ben come up to 168 and I flatten him at 168.
They said 160 in the ring, didn't they? They did say
that's silly from Chris Eubank. If I'm Chris Eubank, Ben's desperate for him. He stinks of desperation.
He needs it. Look,
yeah,
Conor Benn needs him, right? He's not going to fight Jaron Ennis at 147. He ain't going to get the Crawford fight at 154. There's nowhere to go. If he fights one of the other champions, right, he get his ass handed to him, and he knows that, right? He's a one-punch merchant.
Stanionis beats him.
He hasn't had any fantastic performances, has he, while he's been clean, allegedly. So Chris Eubank Jr., make him come up as high as he can, because he needs you more than you need him. Eubank's done. Eubank could retire tomorrow, claim that he's a world champion, and to some people, you know, he's decent. He's made a lot of money, which is ultimately the end goal, if he's not bothered about legacy. So make him come up as high as you can. No rehydration clause.
Right, we'll quickly move on. I'm not going to spend too long on this fight because it was a bit of a procession, because I want to get into the nitty-gritty of obviously the main event and Wardley Clark. But Jai Patai retained his IBF Cruiserweight World Championship. Routine win against Jack Massey, as a lot of us predicted. It actually good corner work by Joe Gallagher, pulling his man out. He was getting absolutely battered. His nose turned 3 different ways by the looks of it as well during the fight. Jack Massey, tough. He probably was never going to get knocked down or knocked out. He probably would have stayed there during the fight, but he took career-altering damage in that fight. Opataya, for me, looked great. He looked really, really sharp. Looked every bit of the guy Liam always pumps him out to be. I've had the jury out on him a little bit sometimes, but you know, can't look past the fact it was a very solid performance on Saturday.
That's Jai Opataya doing what I hoped he would do in order to give a bit more relevance to my claims of him being the number 1 cruiserweight that's going to go on and do things at heavyweight. Look, I'm not saying just because he's beat Jack Massey, that's now guaranteed to happen, but he's now done that performance against that level of fighter, which I wasn't sure if he was going to produce. I did wonder if it would be a 12-round session. So, it was a good performance. It was nice to see Joe Gallagher show some contrition for a fighter as well. It's not often we see that from Joe. He probably done something he doesn't do very often, but Jack Massey's as tough as they come. He stood there all night. He kept having a dig. He kept having a go. Jai is just that level above, isn't he? Like, Jack Massey would give a good fight to Chris Willems-Smith, to Zerdo Ramirez, and other fighters of that ilk at cruiserweight. But Jai Opataya is just a level above. And I think that's exactly how a fight against Zerdo or Willems-Smith, as much as we always want to back the Brits here, would turn out as well. I think he just come through, he box and break them down, and possibly it'd be on points, but he'd still find a way, wouldn't he? I think that's his stall set out now for me, Jai.
I mean, he just went through the motions. I don't think any of us expected anything other than a Jai Opataya win.
No.
You know, Jack Massey, as good as people think he is, he boxed the same as all the other Joe Gallagher fighters, straight lines in and out. He didn't change anything. First round, it wasn't working for him. Did the same in the second round, wasn't working for him. And he just kept going in straight lines and just getting punched and punched. It was a punch bag after 2 rounds. You know, Joe Gallagher could have stopped that fight after 4. You know, he was throwing back, but you could see he was significantly slower. He was significantly shorter in his punch range, you know, getting in and getting out. just looked sloppy compared to Opetaia. And I know Massey's not, but it made him look sloppy. It made him look levels below what Opetaia is. I need to see Opetaia tested now. Jack Massey isn't it. No disrespect to you, Jack. You're not it, kid. He needs to be fighting Willem Smith or Ramirez or, somebody.
He needs to be ringside next month. He needs to be ringside next month, and that fight needs to happen in the first quarter of 2025. The 3-belt unification, then they'll get the undisputed against the WBC champ that I can't even think of his name now, but he fought recently as well. So yeah, he's got. Sorry, Lynn. Yeah, he's going to move on quickly, Jai. After that, I think.
Yeah, it's the last time I want to see him in against that level of opponent. Take out the Bravest fight, Thompson, Ellis Soro, and now Jack Massey have been 3 opponents that we've all said aren't on the level of Jai Opetaia. So that says it all. We need to see him move on now. How do we get Donkin?
Yeah, Michaelian, the WBC champ. Dave's given me his name there. I couldn't remember his name for the life of me. He beat Makabu, didn't he? I think. Makabu.
Donkin still owes Daniel Dubois money, doesn't he? So God knows what would happen if he went over.
Got no Donkin owes everybody money. I think he owes Bernard Hopkins, Mike Tyson.
Don King will be holding that WBC strap for a Riyadh season payday.
Don King speaks for the belt himself. The fight is
Don King's going to be wheeled out in Riyadh, getting his flowers at the airport. He'll be loving it.
That'll be getting defended forever, won't it? Defended against
I'm glad you knew what I was doing there, Jay.
That's it. Right, we'll move on from Jai then. Let's get into Fraser Clark and Fabio Wardley, the rematch. It was highly anticipated. Myself and Jay, we picked Fraser. Liam up there backed his Ipswich Town man, Fabio Wardley. Whether you back Wardley or whether you didn't back Wardley, you did not. I didn't see anyone anyway picking a Fabio Wardley first round absolute destruction over Fraser Clark. Round 13 was what it was getting billed as, but many people didn't think round 13 was where it was going to end. But it did. Fabio Wardley with an absolutely brutal finish. Fraser Clark, thankfully, he's okay now. He got the best attention out there in Saudi Arabia. Turkey giving the best doctor because his jaws was kind of, hanging off his face. Let's be honest. He had a dent in the side of his head. Big Fraser took an absolute pasting from Wardley, who looked sensational. Let's be honest. He went out there and completely destroyed Fraser Clark in a fight that many were picking against him. So Frank and Queensbury, they've got another one to add to their 7 or 8 heavyweight.
Yeah, I'd said just before I thought Victor Loughlin were going to have an impact on the fights that he refereed, and surprise, surprise, he did Whittaker Cameron and he did Clark Wardley. I'm not trying to take anything away from Fabio Wardley. I picked against you. I'm saying it like he's watching. I picked against him. Right? But basically, I picked against him just on what I thought I knew. White collar, Olympian. Fraser's now seen what he's got, and and for me, that would have probably happened later on in the fight. But I do think that Victor Loughlin had a nightmare there. He should have separated them when they became tangled and Fraser turned his back. For me, he should have split him and let him reset. And he let Fabio hold him a bit Tyson Fury, Steve Cunningham-esque. He sort of had hold of his left arm while he hit him with the right hand. I'm not saying it wouldn't have happened. I've just said 30 seconds ago that I believe that the writing was possibly on the wall. You could see how
he was hurt, wasn't he? Before that, he was hurt
before that. Every time Fabio Wardley caught him, shook him to his boots. He did come back with a short uppercut.
He landed a nice uppercut, actually, Fraser, didn't he?
And I thought we were going to have a ding-dong then, but that's when the melee happened and he turned his back. Now, for me, I know it's protect yourself at all times, but the fact that he turned his back, I believe Loughlin should have come in and just let him reset. And Fabio
was it naive by Fraser to turn straight back into Wardley's shots? Left hook.
He should have just stayed where he was. But he was buzzed.
Loughlin would have broke it up, wouldn't he, at that point?
But he was buzzed. He was buzzed anyway. So I think we were just prolonging the inevitable. But I'm a stickler for the rules. They're there for a reason.
You're not Luke.
Victor Loughlin. He's one of the most established referees we have over here. But some of the decisions he's made in the past couple of years have been absolutely dog shite. And I said, didn't I, Sam, on the live, when I saw him, I said, he is going to have an impact on this fight, or he'll make it about himself. I'm not saying he made it about himself, but he missed a
impact.
couple of things that me personally, if I'd have been refereeing, I would have made him reset there.
That mate, you're not wrong.
Get him in for Fury Usyk.
I've tried. British Boxing Board of Control will not let me do it. I've tried. I'd be a good referee because I don't take no shit. I would have separated them.
You'd be a terrible judge, I'll give you that.
I completely agree with
Samuel.
I completely agree with you, mate. As I was sitting there watching it, as I saw the forearm coming in from Wardley, not just because it was in his neck, in his throat area, which is a worry anyway. I was saying Victor's got to step in here. He's got to separate.
Just separated them, let him reset. He didn't have to make Fabio go to a neutral corner.
No,
you just split, let him reset and go again. And it would, he'd have probably done what he did anyway. But I believe Fraser didn't get the opportunity to adequately defend himself as such by resetting. He just turned round and wallop, and it's all she wrote.
Yeah. And even me, as someone very happy Fabio Wardley won, I can completely agree with that. Didn't need a big deal. It didn't need like a warning, don't do that again type of thing. It just needed separation. Don't get me wrong, because Fraser then turned into the punch, which was the punch that put the dent in his jaw, and then the next punch that was thrown, that was all she, like you say, that was all she wrote. Fabio would more than likely still would have landed the shots, but at least Fraser would have been able to defend himself. But
yeah, and I think, a referee of that ilk and that much experience. I mean, Victor Loughlin's been refereeing fights for 30, 40 years, or however long. I just think I don't know, was he watching the fight and not concentrating? I don't know, because for me, when it happened live, I said straight away to Sam, right,
I called it as well.
Yeah. And then bam, Fraser's flipping out. The lights are off and no one's home. And it was scary, man.
Oh, it was a scary knockout. Vicious.
To say he was awake with his eyes open, it was scary. But I have to say,
he was limp with his eyes open.
The Saudis do not mess about, man. He had oxygen on, and
it was. Credit to them, definitely.
Bam, 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 they were in.
Credit to the doctors, but look, Victor Loughlin. Unfortunately, too many fights that Victor Loughlin's involved in now, whether he's a referee or a judge, you're sitting there pulling a face at the end, wondering what his scorecard's going to be if it's deemed to be if we think it's a close fight, or B, what he's going to do during a fight that you're going to question. Look, and you can't say for 1 second he could have done anything to prevent Whittaker and Cameron falling out the ring. We're not saying that at all. But he could have done something about Wardley's arm, giving him a bit of a pushback and allowed Fraser to reset. That's all we're saying here. And unfortunately, it's a declining path that we're seeing too often from Victor Loughlin because...
Yeah, it definitely, as I say, as soon as I saw him, I said to Sam, he will be an issue in this fight. And I'm not, please don't take this as this is sour grapes because I pick I don't know either of them, and I respect both of them as fighters. I picked the lose, Fraser lost and I picked him. I am not in any way, shape or form trying to take anything away from Fabio Wardley. I've tweeted him tonight. Sorry, I've posted something on X.
Or whatever it is.
I've offered him an opportunity to come on the show. He's respectfully declined or ignored the tweet. I'm not trying to take anything away from him. I just believe that Fraser Clark would have had more of an opportunity to defend himself and may not have got finished then. But I believe the writing was on the wall. The better man on the night won. But I just think that Victor Loughlin had an absolute stinker for me. Had a stinker.
Just moving on. I've seen this as well. And the comment underneath, Turkey did offer to go see Fraser in hospital as well, which says everything you need to know about Turkey.
People give him stick, but he does seem to actually care about the fighters. And do you know what? One thing, sorry, just before you go, Liam, about Eubank on what I listened to earlier, it's like his promotional thing about himself when he slated all the promoters and like how calculated he is and how careful he is about
Uncle
what he
Turkey,
says. But however, Turkey Al Sheikh is the best promoter. Yeah, everything.
Sounds good, Saudi, mate.
Yeah, definitely. Sorry, Liam, carry on, mate. What were you going to say? Yes, I love you, Turkey, as well. Don't worry, Turkey, you are.
Right, bring it back to the room. Just for a second, going back onto the fight, and obviously looking at the winner being Fabio Wardley. For a second, I know we've probably all seen this X going around the last few days. Any one of those 8 guys that got him as a white collar opponent, fair play to you for getting in the ring with Fabio Wardley. That was
for 20 quid and a few pints.
When he was fighting at Trinity Park, it's literally done in like a circus tent. I know I've watched one of my mates do it. It's done in like a big circus tent thing. And just from going to that to where he is now is fantastic. And let's look, we give the British title a lot of props on this show. We say it's the most beautiful belt in boxing, X, Y, and Z. Fabio Wardley, from a white-collar boxer, is now one defense away from having the Lord Lonsdale title outright. That's the position he's now in. Whether he does that or moves towards an Otto Wallin, a Jared Anderson, etc., etc.
Who do you want to see then? That's the question. Who do you want to see him in with?
David Adelaide.
Sentiment, yeah. He's already fought Adelaide, hasn't he?
No, I'm joking.
Sorry, mate. Sentimentally, I'd like to see him go for his 3rd British title defense and get the British title. So would that be the winner of Solomon Darcy? Well, it'd be the winner of Darcis and Adelaide, wouldn't it?
He ain't doing that.
Yeah, but David Adelaide said his shit whilst he was on his back, not making a 10 count. So that says it all for me. Make the rematch, man. Prove that you're better than him. Because he said your shit.
Luke of the draw doesn't count with Clark. So he's beat Adelaide, he's drawn, and then he's beaten Clark. The draw doesn't count. So he's had 3 defenses.
Three wins. Defenses.
Yeah.
Right.
I'd like to see him fight Johnny Fisher.
Yeah,
I know he's fighting Dave Allen. Fighting Dave Allen, but I'd prefer to see Fabio. I think he needs to. I don't want to see him and Otomo.
Franklin Chisora, Wayne said.
Chisora's announcing a fight in the next couple of days, so I don't think it's going to be Fabio Wardley, is it?
No, I don't. Well, they're both with Frank now, aren't they? They're both Queensbury promoted, Chisora and Wardley. So I don't know if it doesn't make sense. That I'm big on the Jared Anderson fight. I absolutely love it. I think it's chaos. I'm big on
Jared Anderson. I think Jared Anderson will make it look easy, and
I think Jared Anderson could beat Fabio as well. But I'm game for the fight. I think it's a cracking fight.
And he's in exciting fights. But I think if you can outbox him and spoil, which I think Jared could do as long as he keeps away from that right hand, it's whether he can keep away for 12 rounds. If he can, he'll make it look fairly easy. But this is the thing about Fabio Wardley. I thought Clark could do that to him, and look what happened there.
Yeah, Miller or Chin. Miller or Chin him.
Don't get me started on that fat guy.
Let's leave. Going back to that last one. Dan, I completely agree. Sol Darcis doesn't deserve to shot at Wardley, but just looking at the British
rank, they're doing Sol Dakers against Fabio.
Sol Dakers, jeez, no thanks.
But you look at the British rankings; it's likely to be, if he goes for the British title, if he goes for the 3rd defense, it's likely to be Fisher or Dakers.
Somebody around that.
And it depends. It all comes down to how much Fabio puts on the British belt, doesn't it? Some fighters want to have that outright, don't they? They want to have that on their mantelpiece. Are we going to begrudge a fighter the opportunity of doing it outright as Brits? No, we'll probably complain about who he ends up in with, but we understand the sentimentality behind it. As long as he does that fight early next year and then moves on to a Jermaine Franklin, a Jared Anderson, and Otto Wallin, someone of a better ilk, absolutely no complaints for me. The question now is how far he can go. Ajak Caballero against Martin Bakole is the IBF final eliminator. That means Caballero needs to give up the European title that he's managed to hold on to so far. So I've just seen that last comment.
Yeah, I was just laughing at that too. Yeah, it should. Dakers against Adelaide is a good fight, Dan. I agree with that. Charlie Edwards hits harder than Sol Dakers. He does. He actually does.
That's
Dan's a great point, Liam.
What was I saying? I think as long as we see him then move towards... Caballero has to vacate the European title if he does fight Martin Bakole, if he wants to stay in the shot for the IBF. Picking up the European title, if you're Fabio Wardley in the position he's in, he's already had the British and Commonwealth. There's nothing wrong with that. There's enough. That would be enough of a test. Otto Wallin, the first fight that's come to mind, Otto Wallin, he's Swedish, isn't he? That could be for the European title. And that would also be enough of a gauge for, okay, is Fabio ready now to jump to fringe world level, or does he need a bit more? All those questions will be answered next year. And he's with Frank now as well. Look, he's moved around boxer, matchroom, Queensbury.
Great move for Fabio. Great move.
He's done one fight deals, hasn't he? So he can get all these fights. So he can be in this position with the British belt. And now he's settled with Queensbury. So let's see what they do with him. Queensbury are dominating the domestic scene.
Someone like Manuel Char, somebody that's just outside world level, just
the WBA regular champion.
There you go, man.
Yeah.
There you
The
go.
belt for you.
Go get the strap.
What that Christopher Lovejoy, maybe?
Oh, God. Yeah.
Like that's a throwback. Bloody hell. But
No, I'm
WBA.
only saying that because them two.
Oh, no, we're getting the safety
safety
pin out
sucking
next.
each other off.
Kingpin Kevin Johnson.
Oh, dope, mate.
He'll take him rounds. Kevin Johnson, he can't be hurt. Joshua knocked him out of the round.
Takam.
Well, Takam was meant to fight. Who was Takam meant to be fighting under the bycars?
Not sure.
Takam was the main event on that Troy Williamson card that Troy was meant to be on.
Michael Hunter, wasn't it?
Was it?
Was it Michael Hunter?
Get him in there, Michael Hunter.
Anyway,
Yeah, I don't hate that. Fight Michael Hunter.
He's beat McCall. He beat Martin McCall, didn't he?
Look, there's the fact there's so many options for Fabio Wardley, whether he decides to defend the British belt, European, move on to fringe world, just says a lot about how far we believe he can go, if that makes sense. I mean, I'm not saying right now that Fabio Wardley wins a world title at this moment, because he doesn't with the heavyweights that are up there. Not even I'm deluded enough to go on record as saying that. He's not going to win a world title against any of the boys at the moment. But WBA regular belt, look at what Daniel Dubois done. He won the WBA regular belt. Things fell away, and now Dubois is the IBF champion, best placed to fight the undefeated champion.
Can I just say something crazy, right? I can see Fabio Wardley starching Daniel Dubois on the right night, the right time. I can see Fabio starching him. I swear to God I can. Because Daniel Dubois is pretty sloppy still. Joshua just overlooked him. Joshua overlooked him and thought he'd go through him.
Daniel Dubois is a product of, and what it ties into what Dan's just said here. Daniel Dubois is a product of the way that Queensberry and Frank have match made him. Ben Whitaker is a product of how Boxer have match made him. Daniel Dubois has been put in the right fight against the right people, and it's benefited him. And he lost to Usyk, he lost to Joe Joyce, but he's a product of Frank and Queensberry's matchmaking, and now it's paid dividends.
The right fights at the right times, putting him into the right positions, and now he's where he is. And that's what I mean about Fabio Wardley. Like Manuel Charr, WBA regular belt, Jesus Christ. That would be the reaction to the fight. But Wardley wins that, then look at the position he'll be in. Because like we say, these belts are going to fall away from Fury, Usyk. I know Joshua doesn't have one, but you put Joshua in that picture with the belts. They're all going to move on in the next 2-3 years. Fabio's 29. You are making an argument heavyweights don't reach their prime until they're in their 30s. It'll be interesting to see what he does the next 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
What does
Martin's name in the hat?
What does Fraser Clark do next? I mean, first of all, we need to spend time recovering, and we hope he does.
Yeah. I don't think so. Yeah, Coley, that's a good shout. Luke, I forgot he's moving up to heavyweight, isn't he? Yeah, do you know what? I don't hate a Coley against Fabio Wardley,
Yeah.
I don't hate that at all.
Fraser Clark to come again or get another shot at British level in 18 months?
Yeah, he might get another shot at the British title, but he's
beyond that. I can't see anything else for him.
He's not going any further than British level. Let's be honest. Don't want to comment too much on it because, as you say, he's just been starched out, and he's probably not going to be back for at least another 12 to 18 months, is he? Exactly. I'm with Dan here. I actually am with Dan here. I wouldn't mind seeing him jacketing either. That was a bad defeat, but it's up to him. He's got to make a livelihood. It's the only thing he knows. So, respectfully, there's this guy commenting. I can see that J lad at Boxer.
Big fan of mine, that kid.
Wonder who that is.
Big fan of mine, him.
He is a great guy, yes. Dan Evans. Jay's fight talk. I'm on about not Fraser. No.
Just one more thing on Fraser, lads, and it's something I've thought before. If he does decide to call it a day, will he regret how long he stayed as an amateur for? Did he turn pro too late? He put such a lot into getting
the medal, the Olympics.
He needed the silver medal to get it, to put his head above the parapet. If you remember, he's from the same. He was third when Joshua came through, second when Joe Joyce came through. So he had to do the cycle. If he had turned pro, he was in the same cycle as those two. So he needed those two to
yes, that's right. You're right, Jay.
Get a medal.
Yeah, no, you're fair enough.
He wouldn't have done as good if he hadn't got a medal. That's one thing. Possibly. But listen, I can shut that if that's right. Don't you worry about that.
Money talks, Luca. Money talks. Right, let's go to the main event. We did a little show on it the other day, but we've got more people with us today. So let's get back into the nitty-gritty. We're not going to go for half an hour on this. We'll just do a little bit because we've still got to do this week's previews and talk some latest news as well. But we're actually in agreement, the three of us. Now, let us know in the comments, obviously in the chat, how you had Beterbiev versus Bivol. I've only watched it twice because I came to the same outcome both times I watched it. I didn't feel like I needed to see it any further again. I think Eddie's cooled down a little bit with his post-fight comments now. You know, let's be honest, it was close, you know, and in my assessment, and I know you guys are kind of similar in where you were, I felt like I was giving the swing rounds to Beterbiev, or the swing rounds being the close rounds that possibly could have gone either way. And I still reached 115, 113 to Dmitry Bivol, 7-5 in both times that I watched the fight. Now, you know, I know Beterbiev, the outlier is that terrible 8-4 card to Beterbiev. That was a terrible card. Bivol didn't win 4 rounds, in my opinion, anyway. You know, it wasn't a robbery. It was close. Don't get me wrong. We need to see it again, though. That's a fact.
Mate, it's absolutely a fight we need to see again. I think the issues come from the fact there was a 116, 112 cards, because you cannot tell me watching that fight, even if you are watching it through Artur Beterbiev glasses, that we can get off of Bivol's ex-misses, that Bivol only won 4 rounds. That is the reality. There is no way Bivol only won 4 rounds in that fight. It wasn't a robbery by any stretch, the decision, but I've watched it 5 times. I think Jay's watched it a few more than that. Every time I've had it 115, 113 Bivol, and that's even when I've been trying to give rounds.
So many scorecards out there. There's another one for Hawkan. There's so many 7-5 Bivols out there.
Do you know the argument for me? So I've had a few. In fact, me and my uncle on Sunday morning had a screaming row on the phone over it because he scored it Beterbiev, I scored it Bivol. We do it all the time, me and my uncle. We scream and rat. It's just how we are. We scream at each other.
Love. It's all love.
But the problem for me is if you are going to score the forward momentum, the forward pressure as aggression, right? On the flip side of that, you have to score the defense, the backing off, the counter punching, the blocking of the shots. You can't score one and not score the other. To stay out of range and not get caught. Also, you didn't see Bivol up on his toes. He stood and traded at points and then boxed and moved away. So if you're going to do the forward momentum, you have to do the reverse side of that, for me. You can't score one without scoring the other. They both have an impact on the round.
In answer to this question, for me personally, yes, I would still be calling for a rematch because it was a great
question. I think that's a great question. Sorry, Liam, just I need to get it off my chest.
Yeah.
I think it's a really good question by Dan because it's a great point. I personally am with you, Liam. I would be lobbying for a rematch, but I guarantee the narrative wouldn't be that. The narrative would be, Bivol won that comfortable. I guarantee you because so many people scored it for Bivol. I know Wayne said that he scored it for Beterbiev. So many people scored it for Beterbiev as well, but way more people have scored this fight for Bivol that I've seen. Anyway, correct me if you feel different, but I've seen way more people scored it for Bivol. So I feel that the consensus would have been, there doesn't need to be a rematch. Bivol beat him. That's what I feel. But because so many scored it for Bivol, then the rematch, more people are saying about the rematch.
I agree with you, mate. I think the general consensus, because of how everyone's got to fight, would probably be less calling for the rematch. But if we're really honest, the level that fight was fought at from both fighters, Bivol and Beterbiev, and also what else is out there in the division.
Yes.
Then the fight would still be the rematch, regardless of if Bivol was undisputed. And by the way, if there was a 116, 112 scorecard in Bivol's favour, I'd be calling it the same way I'm being there in Beterbiev's favour. There is no way that fight was 116, 112 to even man on Saturday night. Categorically, for me, it was a 115, 113 fight for Bivol. But you could make the argument. Yeah, you could make the argument of it being level. You could see. It's not my argument because of what I scored it, but you can see it being 115, 113 for Beterbiev. But there's not a 116, 112 there either way.
I've watched it, I want to say 6 times, and I've watched highlights a couple of times. I've tried my hardest, right? And what I see is not what other people are seeing. I mean, me and Sam watched it together, right? We both had Bivol. I actually had it really wide, but we were talking, we were interacting with people that were watching it. So I didn't watch it properly. When I rewatched it straight after, I scored it 115, 113 Bivol. I then watched it again straight after, like a lunatic up till like 3 o'clock in the morning. I watched it with the sound off, trying to give Beterbiev rounds. So I watched it as if I were banking on him winning. Even when I did that, I had it 1-1-4, 1-1-4. Every time I've watched it since, 1-1-5, 1-1-3, Bivol. The only round for me, the swing round, is 12.
Yep.
That's the only swing round. I'm confident in all the other rounds for me. Maybe 4, because I gave 4 to, I think I gave it to Beterbiev. And then when I've watched it again, I'm thinking, you could give that to Bivol. But 12, I think Bivol does just enough to nick that round for me. But you could potentially give it, because the momentum, 9, 10, 11, was with Beterbiev. And he starts fairly strong in 12. You'd give it to him. But I think Bivol comes back into it towards the back end of that round. And for me, edges that round. And that's, the difference between it being a draw and not.
Yeah. I mean, I've got my scorecard up here now. For me, I gave Bivol 10, 11, 12. I gave Beterbiev 10, 11, 12. I thought he came on undoubtedly stronger in the back end of the fight during the championship rounds. But on the flip side of that, after 3 rounds, I had it 3-0 to Bivol. So it just shows it was a very... Look, everyone's going to have a different opinion. There's a lot... Boxing News on their app said that 52% scored it in favour of Beterbiev, 47% in favour of Bivol. Whatever's left had it as a draw for the 340-odd scorecards they had. So shows that it is a coin flip fight. And the irony is, how often in boxing do we talk about fights are going to be a coin flip? And then when it's all said and done, actually, it wasn't really that close. Actually, there was one fighter that pulled away that was levels above the other fighter and showed it on the night. It's very rare that you get such an elite fight, two-class fighters.
No, keep talking. I'm going to show you something.
Two-class fighters, and it's that even again at the end. It's like the second fight will probably be as close. And then you're leaning towards the third fight. As I said on Sunday, these guys fight 50 times. It's 25-25 apiece. Absolutely.
Yeah, so I've watched it 6 times, right? Sorry, Sam, I won't be long. No, right. And I've scored it 1-1-5, 1-1-3. When I watched it live, right, I had it 9-3 to Bivol. I had it 9-3 to Bivol, which it should have been 8-4 because I swear to God, I gave Bivol 9 and 10. Now, watching it back, can't give him those rounds. Beterbiev, they were his strongest rounds.
Yeah.
But I think I got drawn in once. He started well. I think I just watched all the good work from Bivol. So I think it clouded my judgment. And I said that straight after when the scorecards were in. I said, I need to watch this again. I was pissed because I thought the decision was wrong in the first instance. Watching it again now, I still believe that the decision should have gone the other way, but I can see justifications for it being a draw or going the other way because it is subjective. But I do believe there should be universal rules for boxing scoring criteria, and there isn't. MMA has it. Why hasn't boxing got it?
Which is the argument. Which is the argument I made on Sunday, isn't it, mate? Boxing not having unified scoring systems is what 70% of the time leads to debates like we're having now.
Subjective, 3 days. And it shouldn't be.
Why should it be subjective? It should be black and white. It should be. Like MMA, you got your 5 or 6 clear things in order that you should be rewarding when you're scoring the rounds. Where's that in boxing? Because if you had that in this fight, I mean, don't get me wrong, it would still be a close fight, but you're it's more likely to be you get a unanimous
definitive winner.
Yeah, that's the word.
Definitive winner.
It's look, as I've said, they could fight 50 times, it would be 25 apiece. They are that well matched, they are that well set. I don't think I'd be very surprised if we saw a knockout in a rematch. I know we touched on this on Sunday, just because of the level of skill set we're talking at from both boxers. But look, Bivol wins a rematch. You're telling me they're not going to do a third fight? The only thing for me,
they are. And
the only thing for me that
it'd be 26-24 to Bivol. Fuck off.
the only thing for me that stops a rematch or a trilogy is Beterbiev deciding now that he's achieved this. Not even that. His body he's put his body through enough and he calls it a day. We all know the struggle.
I thought he was going to retire, to be fair.
We all know the struggles Bivol's had. He's 40 even just after or just this side of Christmas. If he decides he's had enough, I wouldn't surprise me. Look,
in MMA, he hangs around with Ramzan Kadyrov. Last thing he needs is dough. because he don't need money, mate.
True.
That's the only thing
not
for me.
what motivates me.
Rematch in the trilogy is Beterbiev decided to call it a day. That's where I'm at with it. I hope he at least does a rematch. I hope we at least see it once more, please. Love to see another 12 rounds of that. But you never know. Beterbiev's achieved everything he set out to achieve, hasn't he? That may be enough for him. He may not want to put his body through another training camp at 40 years old. And who are we to deny him that?
Yeah, I mean, he did say straight after, didn't he, that he deserves a rematch and he's up. How respectful were they? How magnanimous in defeat was the
Bivol was
I liked him before, but I like him 10 times more than I did. That has got to be up there for one of the most magnanimous acceptances of a defeat I've ever seen. Ever seen.
In those circumstances as well.
Mate, he just thanked everybody, apologised for not pulling it off, and hailed Beterbiev as a great champion. While his ex-missus is screaming from the podcasting horrible nasty witch. But what a guy. Both of them.
Absolutely.
I mean, Beterbiev was at the mosque at 5 a.m. and then he travelled to Mecca yesterday. You know, nothing changes for these guys. It's fantastic to see spit and sword.
There was no flash, was it? No flash at all. Straight down to the ring. There was no. I can't remember who said it now, but there was no rappers or anything like that rapping them down to the ring. It was just straight down to business. Let's get this done. Absolutely love it, man. Luke is right about the criteria for different organizations and all the rest of it. It's like, who is right and what is right and what is wrong, and it's very, and we talk about these Cattrall Taylor decisions, and there's the Shaki Foster, Hobson Conceição decisions.
Ooh,
and, you talk but you talk about them. I'm not comparing this to Bivol Beterbiev. I'm just talking about how you can watch a fight one time and then you can watch it back another time. You can have it a few rounds. So it is a tough job to be a boxing judge, but they're terrible robberies. Don't get me wrong, but it's a tough job to be a judge. There's no doubt about that. Sorry, Dan said both men exuded class all week. I loved the pre-fight too, no messing about. Yeah, loved it, Dan. It was absolutely brilliant. Wayne's echoed your sentiment there. People love them stoic fighters who, exactly. Beterbiev, Eddie Hearn is literally like losing hair over the fact that Beterbiev wouldn't talk all week. Eddie, that's his personality. He just wants to fight.
I think the reality is, though, and we said this during the week, so it's not now something outlandish to say post-fight, we already knew that this fight wasn't going to translate on the same level as other undisputed or weird season events because of the two fighters involved. And that's nothing, no disrespect for either of them. Classy fighters that absolutely exceeded class all week and delivered in the ring. Tell us what you really think, Luca, mate. Don't hold back. Now we're in a position where, because of the controversy in it, this fight is now going to cross over into a more independent market, isn't it? It's going to cross over to the casuals. You're going to be talking to your mate down the pub that only watches the big fights, and he goes, "Oh yeah, those two Russian geezers. It was, it's a bit. Was it a robbery? Oh, they're fighting again. I'm going to watch it." And now they're going to get more of the flowers they deserve. And look, it doesn't matter to us because we've watched those two fighting underground in a nightclub, in front of no one with no gloves on, no rules.
I wouldn't. I don't go into nightclub.
Now they're going to get crossover into the wider audience.
Unless Shalom tells you to.
When Daddy tells you,
what do you think, boys? This is a good point. Before we'll move on to the news and the preview for this week. Dan said, for me, guys, the class meant it was the best Riyadh season card so far. Luca agrees. Best Riyadh season card of the year so far, or if not, what was?
Fury Usyk. So far.
I don't know. I like the Joshua one the other week, to be fair. I think if Liam Smith had fought Josh Kelly on that card, I think that card would have beat.
What goes up, yeah.
I loved Crawford Madrimov. Something about the build, like it sucked me in. That I was more of a purist card as well, probably than anything.
They've all been good.
Yeah, they have all been good actually. I'm with Liam. Fury Usyk one was
they've all been phenomenal cards. So we're literally picking hairs to pick the best.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're right.
I mean, they're not card at year. They're not card at year. That goes to Channel 5, Edwards or Somber for me. It's card of the year.
Mate, that was a riveting night. I loved it.
That goes to Misfits.
Triangle ring.
Yeah, hard to argue, Dan. They're definitely up there, my man, for sure, 100%.
don't get me wrong, for sheer class, absolutely. For the fact there was none of the carry on we got from Fury before the Usyk fight, for sheer respect, class, getting in the ring and delivering, that was outstanding. Sorry, someone's calling my missus on the laptop. Sorry, boys. That was absolutely outstanding, but it's very difficult. It's very difficult to argue with actually what we saw in the Undisputed fight from a cruiserweight moving up to heavyweight, doing what he done. That's delivered the most this year. But look, we've had 8 Riyadh season events now. We'll have 10 by the end of this year. And there's an argument that all 10 have been some of the best events, cards, fights we've seen over the last 10 years. And that's an amazing position. You think where boxing was before this money, we're getting pissed off with fights not being made. We're getting pissed off with promoters not working together. It's taken one bloke from Saudi and a shit ton of cash, granted, but at least the fight's happening now. And that's the most important thing.
Beterbiev, Canelo, it's not that fight. It's not even that fight's
apparently Turkey's talking it up on X. Beterbiev and Canelo. I heard Canelo was going to want it. If Bivol won, I heard Canelo was going to want the undisputed fight 175. I do not think.
But he won't risk fighting Beterbiev. Beterbiev will beat the bricks off him.
Beterbiev will stop Canelo. Log it. Beterbiev would stop Canelo.
Beterbiev would stop Canelo.
Bivol, like that fight. Bivol Benavidez.
That's a good fight.
Can we just stop giving guys fights? I just want to see them fight each other again.
Yeah. Let's let them fight each other again. Yeah, I'm with you.
Canelo said himself he would fight Bivol, didn't he, in the build-up to the Berlanga fights? There's no secret there. He's not stupid enough to fight Beterbiev. If this is true.
I had to. Yeah, Sam kicked me off the live, to be honest, and maybe got to bed because I nearly said something.
Yeah, we don't get political on here. Whatever was going on with the Chechen leader,
I'm going to keep my
we'll leave that with him. If you scored Mr. Crick, if you scored it by 4 to Beterbiev, fair enough. A judge did as well, and some other people did. So your scorecard is. Yeah, I don't agree with it, but there's nothing wrong with your scorecard. But in regards to politics, we'll leave that out of this show.
Yeah, we'll leave that alone.
That's not our agenda. But anyway, boys, we've got a little bit of action this week. The one I want to talk about most, obviously, is the it's not quite Beterbiev Bivol, but we can't have it every week, can we? Adam Azim is taking on O'Hara Davis in probably the most, at least the highest profile fight on these shores this weekend. OD made it interesting, didn't he, at the press conference? When it was launched, he went for Jay's mate, Ben Shalom, obviously. Him and Azim are friends, aren't they? So that they're not really going at it with each other. He bought a Carl Frampton book for Shane McGuigan. He's just pulling some OD tricks in there. But
I feel sorry for O'Hara. I just feel sorry.
He looks lost. He looks lost, O'Hara does.
Do you know what it is? He's not that guy. So O'Hara Davis was 2 tanks, wasn't he? Stamina for sale. Tunde was his guy. And he was a bit obnoxious, right? But he's not clever enough to carry the facade. He's not very clever. So he tries things and they just fall on deaf ears. He's better off just being himself. He's a nice guy by all accounts. He's meant to be a really nice kid. And I've seen some interviews with him where he's not talking shit. He's not throwing shade. He's not bringing Frampton books for McGuigan trying to cause needle. He's actually an all right guy. And Azim said that, he looked up to him. And he'd been nice and respectful to him when he was coming through the ranks. But he tries too hard. And I think he got shit on by Eddie Hearn and thrown under a bus by Tommy Coyle and Fowler and all them, twisting what he'd said and said it was about Hillsborough and it wasn't. And I think he got shunned by a lot of the boxing people and he's had to fight his way back. He had to win that daft bloody golden ticket or whatever it was. Do you remember?
MTK Global, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, literally, the final was 2 weeks before COVID, wasn't it? And all went to crap.
Anybody, I don't think. Lion bars in the shop.
We'll get into that in a minute. Can O'Hara Davis? Obviously, he's coming off the Ishmael Barroso first round blowout.
He can,
Can he beat Adam Azim?
Yes.
Well, I think the fact that they know each other and they've sparred and Azim, whatever he thinks of himself, O'Hara Davis has always been the above him, further down the line, the mature, the grown up. Do you get what I mean? And when they go into the ring, that has to have a bearing on how they box, And I think if O'Hara turns up, He can beat anybody at around about 140.
It's 32 versus 22. O'Hara's got a lot of experience on Adam Azim.
And he's only lost at the highest level, hasn't he?
Yeah, Taylor Catcher and Barroso.
That was my point. If Adam Azim has taken this fight as sort of not a soft touch, but he thinks O'Hara Davis is the right opponent for him to come back into after having surgery, after being out of the ring since February, he's going to be in for a rude awakening. O'Hara Davis, he put out a photo today of him and Adam Azim. Looks recent enough, and the caption is, "It's not personal between us. It's just business."
Yeah.
If O'Hara Davis is coming for business, not for being a little shit, causing controversy this week,
then he's on
it. It's going to be
it.
a hell of a fight. And if Adam Azim is going to get his chin tested on Saturday night, if Adam Azim's chin doesn't stand up to the test, then he gets stopped. If Adam Azim gets chin tested, doesn't like it, and then spends the rest of the fight trying to stay away from whatever puts him on the floor, he gets beat on the scorecards. It's a far riskier fight than a lot of people are giving it credit for. And I do wonder if it's another example of boxer making a mistake with what they're doing. So they've moved away from the Dalton Smith fight. We know the crap with the purse bids, and they put him in the ring facing off against Harlem Eubank whilst they're sending the email to say they're vacating the European title and all that crap. We all know that from earlier in the year. And now they brought him back in against what wouldn't surprise me if Ben Shalom and Boxer, a bit wet behind the ears, are saying a washed up O'Hara Davis. O'Hara Davis isn't washed up just because he got blown out in a round by Ishmael Barroso. Barroso may be 75, but he's still a venomous puncher that's going to do damage to anyone.
You cheeky son.
Is Luis Ortiz's granddad, Ishmael Barroso?
Just a year older than he's a year younger than me. He's a year younger than me. He's 74. Stop it. Being disrespectful to my fellow one man.
But you completely get my point. He beat Lewis Ritson, didn't he, in Newcastle before he went out to fight Barroso, and he was an underdog in the Ritson fight. Ritson has a very similar style to Adam Azim. He likes to fight on the outside. He likes to leave his hands by his side. Davis fights similar to how he done in that Ritson fight. Azim still has his chin in the air. Yep. I'm telling you, I think Azim is going to come through, but there's all, and that's the prediction I gave on my show a couple of hours ago. But it would not surprise me if
he's going to come through some hairy moments, Adam Azim, on Saturday.
I'm
worried for his lack of power.
Can he come through? And because, as you say, Sam, it doesn't hit that hard.
It doesn't hit hard at all.
It's hard.
He's got Shane McGuigan in his corner, though, which is a big thing. Shane's a top quality coach, regardless of what they've done or whatever. He's a top quality coach.
Shane McGuigan's one of the top 3 in the UK, and he's up there in world boxing, regardless of what goes on the side, outside of what he does on a training camp and a fight night. He is an outstanding trainer. Look at what he's done to Chris Billum-Smith's career. Look what he's done with Ellie Scottney. Look at the way he attempted, he didn't succeed in the end because he went back to type. He attempted to revive Lawrence Okoli. They had a couple of fights where he's shown improvements before he went back to type, and then he left to go off to America and train with Sugar Hill. He has a track record of being able to do it. And if you're going to be in any gym as a young fighter, I'd want to be in Shane McGuigan's gym, I think, in this country. But just because you got him in your corner doesn't necessarily mean it's going to come off on fight night if yourself as the fighter isn't taking it seriously. O'Hara knows he's got nothing to lose. And this is his second fight in a row in the UK where he's being written off, where he's the beast, where people are saying that he's washed up. He doesn't give a damn, does he? He's just going to come in there.
He's happy to play that role. He is happy to be that guy, OD. He really is, and it's gonna be interesting actually to see on Thursday at the presser, and Jay's gone, and Friday at the weigh-in. It's going to be interesting to see what OD brings to the table. Is he going to try and change up on Adam Azim? Because you never know what you're going to get. He's an unpredictable guy, but I do fully think that he's going to give Adam Azim a gut check on Saturday, and we'll see what Adam Azim's made of. Definitely.
I actually think, mate, so the fact he's put out this photo this week with saying it's not personal, it's nothing personal, it's just business. I actually think he's going to stay neutral. He's going to stay quite reserved and relaxed, which is probably the opposite of what McGuigan and Azim are thinking. So that will probably mess with them more. If he comes in all guns blazing, effing and jeffing and causing a ruckus, that's probably going to play into what Team Azim are thinking. If he comes in calm, laid back, zen almost, it's going to work in his favour. Look, I backed on my show, which is going to come out tomorrow, I backed Adam Azim, but I'm talking myself into the supposed upset for O'Hara Davis here. So it'll be interesting to see. it's a cracking main event, and a bit of wet behind the earnest from boxing could actually be to the detriment of one of their only superstars they have.
Well, definitely, like Lucas said here in his comment, it's a big night for Ben Shalom. It's a big night for Boxer. After what happened last weekend, Jack Massey got beat, Fraser Clark got beat. You know, who else got beat? The boxer.
No one else.
Sorry, Ben Whitaker. Sorry, what happened with him? Boxer and Ben Shalom are under the microscope at the minute. If Adam Azim goes and gets beat by O'Hara Davis this weekend, wow, Boxer have had an absolute
Ben, make the call, brother. I can fix this. I'm friends with Uncle Frank. Met Eddie back about 10 years ago. He'll remember me. I've got the.
No, but the problem is, Ben, he'll want to stand front and centre in all the face-offs for Jay's fight talks. He will, all right.
I wouldn't. I swear to God, I'd love to work something like that in background. So I'd be able to do it. I know a lot of people in boxing don't, so I'd love to do it. So Ben, make the call, man. I'm cheap.
Make it happen, Ben Shalom. Talking about making it happen, Ben Shalom. Lions are back in the camp. TBA has been revealed.
Bars in the shop.
TBA has been revealed. Ralph Vilcons, if I'm saying that right.
Train. Don't forget his nickname. He's for Train.
Lion bars in the shop. Latvians in the ring. Let's go.
Is this his third warm-up fight since Beterbiev?
Yep.
Because someone said he's on the rebuild like Anthony Joshua. I think that's a bit harsh on AJ, to be fair. At least
this guy's 17-1. You know, he hasn't boxed anybody that I've ever heard of. He's barely boxed outside Latvia.
Mr. Neutral, thanks for joining us, brother.
Yes, Mr. Neutral. But let's be honest, 99.9% of the people that Anthony Yarde have fought, other than Boris Crichton, have been shit and TBA and last-minute opponent. He said that this guy is a late replacement for a TBA.
For who?
All the people that he's boxed by Kovalev, Beterbiev and Boris Crichton, we've never heard of.
Lyndon Arthur as well.
Yeah, Lyndon Arthur.
Like, it's such a bizarre career. He either fights Beterbiev or like the best in the division, Lyndon Arthur or TBA. His career.
His career is either red hot to the point where you're going, fuck me, what a set of balls he's got on him to do it, or you're sitting here going, right, so has this guy actually left his country of birth?
Let me tell you now, if Anthony Yarde wasn't as marketable and had an Adidas sponsorship and Foot Asylum or whoever else he's sponsored by, he'd be fighting real fights. But he hadn't had to because he's got loads of money. He got given loads of money.
No, mate, you're completely right.
What's her name? That girl did it as well. Shannon Courtney. She did it. She got the similar
She's
kind
on the
of
card, is she not?
Yeah, she is.
She's on it.
But, mate, you're completely right with Yarde. He has probably... Look, Frank Warren has done another Frank Warren masterclass and got him 2 world title shots that, respectfully, he didn't deserve at either point with the level of opposition he was in with. He sat himself out and has put himself now completely out of the Riyadh season picture just for deciding he was going to throw his toys out the pram for the sake of one fight left on his contract. And now he's fighting at the Copper Box on a Sky card. No, if he's on Sky Sports, that's fantastic. But this is his 89th TBA opponent of his career. That's apparently a late replacement for the previous TBA.
Well, they shoehorned him in, didn't they, to Saturday's panel? They shoehorned him in because he'd boxed Beterbiev. He wasn't down to be on that 2 weeks ago.
Oh, yeah, of course he did.
He just popped up. Oh, I boxed him. And, you're fighting on Saturday, aren't you, Anthony? Now we boxed.
Can you tell us who the opponent is yet? I can't.
Yeah, it's TBA.
Look, he's never held... I've made this argument a couple of weeks ago with you boys, so sorry for repeating myself. He's never held the British title. When he won the Commonwealth title in the rematch with Lyndon Arthur, he literally chucked it before the next circular from the Commonwealth Boxing Board of Control came out, for God's sake. I'm not saying belts aren't everything in boxing, but for someone that's had so many TBAs to only have won a Commonwealth title in a second round blowout and then got rid of it quickly.
If he held the British outright because he defended against the best on the shores, then yeah, you can understand him having warm-up fights. But every fight he's ever had's a warm-up fight, bar the world title shots he didn't deserve and Lyndon Arthur.
That is my point, mate. He's not even done it on a domestic level. His best domestic win is Lyndon Arthur, but that's after getting beat by Lyndon Arthur.
Yeah.
look, I'm not saying that diminishes it because he got beat by him before, but that's the reality. He lost before he won against Linden. And now we're talking about him fighting TBA. There's talk of him fighting Buatsi. But
is he another Chris Eubank Jr.?
He's worse in some ways than Eubank Jr. for me.
You think so?
There you go. Håkan said that Ralph Wilkins lost every round against Danish prospect Jakob Bank last year in Denmark. That, you know, that's who Yard's drafted in on 3 days' notice or whatever it is.
Jay, just going back to what you just said, mate, there's similarities between him and Eubank Jr., but I would actually say Yard is worse than Eubank Jr. for doing it. Okay, so at least I know he didn't hold it for long. At least Eubank Jr. held and defended a British title. He done 2 fights. The only reason he
domestically on it as well.
The only reason he didn't do it the 3rd time is because he went into the World Boxing Super Series. So none of us at that point are going to say, "Oh, he should have defended a British." When that money came along, when the Sauerland brothers were about serious boxing and not only fans models against each other for in the silly misfit stuff. Mate, it's true. And Yard has never done anything like that. He's got shoehorned into his world title fights, barely held a Commonwealth belt, and most of his opponents are TBA. It's just frustrating because there is a fighter there in Anthony Yard that's very marketable, that if he won world titles, you can make into a global superstar based off of his personality, based off of his marketability. Again, going into the stuff that me and Jay talk about
Mr. Neutral. No, sorry.
No, away from boxing, it's just frustrating because Anthony Yards, say he gets the Buatsi fight, say he loses to Buatsi, he'll retire. And then
he should have left Tunde. He should have left Tunde, mate. He's got a gym where they're all going, woo, woo, yes, yes.
Flames in the camp.
Hard work is. Mr. Neutral, I thought Eubank laboured a little bit, to be honest. I wasn't that impressed. Yeah, he got his man down 4
times. Rounds. Let's not beat around the bush. Eubank Jr. should have got that kid out there in 2 rounds, and then run on the side of the ring and gone, "You're next, you Ric Flair looking, cheating son of a gun." That's what he should have done, but he didn't. Knocked him down in 1st round, flipped and flopped around for another 6 rounds. You know, at one point, he looked like he got hurt in that fight. He
looked really laboured. He caught a big right hand. He looked okay, but he was laboured for large points in the middle. But the finish was good. You know, probably been a bit critical, maybe. I don't know, but I didn't think he looked amazing.
I don't think we are, because he was in there, like we said, against the 3rd or 4th best fighter in Poland. He wasn't in there against. He wasn't in there against. Yeah. He wasn't in there against a world beater or someone who's got a proven track record. He was in there against someone that was meant to look good for him. And this is very true. Eubank Jr. probably will end up in Misfits.
I'll fight him in Misfits.
Eubank Jr. versus Darren Till. But yeah, Yard, back onto Yard. You know, his career's just been. I can't believe he left Frank Warren after that guy. He should have been signed to a lifetime deal for Frank Warren, fighting for free.
You know what, though?
And done that much for him.
The way he handled the exit or non-exit, for me, is very disrespectful after what Frank Warren did to him. And to be honest, Anthony Yard doesn't deserve big fights after what he did to Frank Warren. And unfortunately for him, I don't think he thought Frank could get in with the Saudis as much as he had. And now he will not get, unless Shalom Ben manages to put him on something like a 5v5 or something like that, then I think he's frozen out of that now. And he'll be picking up scraps forever. I don't see Anthony Yard getting the big fights. I don't.
Mate, we've seen it with Frank Warren. We've seen it with Frank Warren time and time again. When he wants to be stubborn and act like a child, he will be stubborn and act like a child. He hasn't liked anything that Anthony Yard's done since February this year, when he said, "Yeah, I'm going to fight Buatsi in the summer. We're going to get this fight made," and then he threw his toys out the pram. If he's going to go on a Riyadh season card, Frank Warren will be like, "No, he's not. I'm not letting him fight on this." And okay,
absolutely not.
But you understand it, don't you? Frank Warren will say, "No, I don't want him."
He's the lead promoter on every Riyadh season card. Yard's going nowhere near any Riyadh season card anytime soon. No chance. I think we are, Mr. Neutral. I've realised that. I watched back some of our shows. I think you think that we've been WBA interim regular super middleweight champions.
No, do you know what it is, though?
Did I not tell you that story?
We say it as we see it, and we don't say it thinking. I don't speak and give my answers based on people watching. you've seen me on when we do watch-alongs. I forget that we're actually on a watch-along. We're not just FaceTiming each other. I'm screaming, I'm jumping around, I'm slagging people off. But I'm the kind of guy, I'll say it to your face as well. I've carried bullshit around with me as a profession for 30 years. So when I'm talking openly to a couple of my friends, then I'll be open and honest. And if people don't like it, you know where I am, Jay's Fight Talk at YouTube, Jay's Fight Talk at X. Come see me and I'll have the debate with you person to person. I'm not saying I would like to have a face-off with any fighters. And you know, because I know there are consequences to talking shit, but I'm big enough and ugly enough to accept the consequences of talking shit. I'm never purposely disrespectful, but I won't follow a narrative just to fit in, to get somewhere.
There you go.
But I do think
Luca.
Boxer and Ben Shalom are the best promotional outfit in the UK. And I think Ben Shalom is doing it really well. He just needs a bit of help. And I'm that guy.
If you do a face-off, Ben Shalom needs to be in the middle. Yeah, that's right. Get it in the contract. Neutral, we spoke about this a little bit earlier on. My friend Liam was saying that he did think that Whittaker quit. Jay's Fight Talk said that he didn't think.
No, Jay's Fight Talk says he doesn't want to believe that he quit. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. There is a little part of me that thinks he looked for a way out, but the boxer in me has to think that it's real, because I don't want to have to think that about my petrol station best buddy, man. I just don't want to have to think that.
Yeah, I guess neutral, in my opinion, we won't know until we find out if there's an immediate rematch. I think if we get an immediate rematch, that tells us a hell of a lot about Ben Whittaker's mindset towards the situation. Yeah. If he skirts the rematch or does a few warm-up fights, then starts getting hot on the mic, and after knocking out a few people that don't belong in a ring with him, I think he'll then go calls for Liam Cameron. Then I'm not into it. I don't believe that it was organic. But if he gets straight back in there, back end of this year with Liam Cameron or early next year, probably be now, won't it? Then I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, and that's my opinion on it. I don't know enough about it yet, but it doesn't look good. Put it that way. What's your opinion on it, neutral? Let us know, my friend. Elsewhere this weekend, boys, this fight is going to be absolutely phenomenal. I'm telling you have to watch this. Me and Liam were speaking about it in the week. If anyone hasn't or isn't aware, Tim Tszyu and Bakram Murtazaliev are fighting, and it's on Amazon Prime, Liam, in the UK.
Part of your subscriptions are not pay-per-view.
Yes,
part of your subscription
card from the Kareem Royale in Orlando. It's been getting quite a few fights recently. Tickets going for $1. We've been seeing on X. But it's going to be a war, man. Tim Tszyu coming off the back of that disappointing loss to Sebastian Fundora last time out, losing his belts. Murtazaliev undefeated, 16-0, 12 KOs. I think it's going to be an absolute war. Love watching Tim Tszyu fight. Murtazaliev is going to bring it as well. Let us know in the chat how you see it, boys. Are you looking forward to this one? We'll definitely be doing a watch-along.
Like, Tim Tszyu is one of my favourite fighters to watch at the moment. So the fact he's now back in so quickly for a world title is just fantastic. I'm absolutely buzzing for it. It's another opportunity for him to get back in the world picture. The fact that fight was able to go 12 rounds with the cuts he had, with the fact the doctor looked
he's a warrior, man. He's a warrior.
Absolute warrior. And the fact that he went 12 rounds and made an argument for winning that fight as well says everything you need to know about Tim Tszyu.
Can I say, we were talking about offspring and children of fighters.
Yep.
I think Tim Tszyu is one of the only ones that potentially could eclipse what his dad did, because his dad was his dad was good, but I think if Tim Tszyu gets a belt, I think Tim Tszyu could have a proper run and could clean up a division. I think he's that good. I just don't think we've seen enough of him.
Tim's already been a world champion, so he's had the W.
I know that. What I'm
carry on.
Is he can carry if he gets the belt back. Obviously, he lost his belt in his last fight. What I meant is he could dominate a division, because he won't get handily beaten in that fight. I think the cut made a massive difference to the way he boxed.
Yeah, it did.
It was a split decision. Yeah, it was a split decision as well. It was close enough.
I'm saying. So I believe that he could be one of the first kids to sort of eclipse what their fathers did. I know Mayweather's dad boxed as such, but his dad I'm on about fighters whose dads were world champions and up there.
Mate, you know John Fury fighting, man. Jay's gone again. Oh, no, he's back.
Didn't beat my mate, no, did he? My mate Steve Garber knocked him dead.
I'll say this to you boys, and I know the reaction I'm going to get. Tim Tszyu wins on Saturday, and then he moves towards fighting Terence Crawford in the next 12, 18 months. That is.
I think we've got more chance of seeing him fight Errol Spence than Crawford.
Who?
Well, on that point, Spence and Fundora are going to fight, aren't they? That's pretty much done now. So Fundora's got 2 belts.
I think they'll put Tszyu and Spence together. I don't think Crawford will fight him.
Well, Fundora's got 2 belts. Crawford's got 1, and Murtazaliyev's got 1 right now.
Yeah, so Fundora's got Tszyu's old WBL belt, and the WBC's belt was on the line for their last fight. Look, it's a cracking fight. Spence coming back against Fundora, just touching on that quickly. This is where we're going to find out what Errol Spence still has.
He'll retire if he loses. He'll retire.
Oh, yeah, I'm not confident he wins. Fundora is an awkward customer.
He's an underdog. He's an underdog in that fight.
He is an underdog. I'm just not sure. You think Spence still has it in him?
No. I'm joking.
Fundora, sorry. No, I was just going to
smash into pieces. Fundora.
Yeah, Spence is inactive, and I don't like it.
I don't think he's quick enough. I've always said this about Spence. I'm not going to say he's overrated, but I think people got overexcited with the hype. I think he's very good at what he does, but what he does is very basic. There's nothing outside of the 1-2 combinations. His footwork's a bit ploddy for me. I think if Kell Brook hadn't got hurt, Kell Brook would have beat him. But Kell Brook got hurt, didn't he, and lost the fight. I think Spence gets beat. But I think that's the fight they're looking to make is Tszyu versus Spence if he beats Fundora.
Definitely. Crazy Hawkan, isn't it? $1 tickets. I think there's because the Hurricanes hit, and I think they're doing a good thing, PBC, so I'll take that for face value. Credit to them. What do we think then, boys? Murtazaliev against Tim Tszyu. Is Tszyu going to become world champ again?
Yeah, I think he's just mixed it at a slightly higher level. He's going to have a bit more. Murtazaliev, this is only his second or third 12 rounder of his career. He still questions over can he maintain his power and maintain his gas tank into a back end of a fight. We know Tim Tszyu can, even with his high octane style. So for me, that's going to be the difference. So have a few hairy moments. It may well be a split decision at the end, but Tim Tszyu is going to become a 2-time world champion for me.
Yeah, I think it'll be tough. I think he might have to get up off the canvas, possibly. I think it's going to be a bit of a dogfight, but we know that Tszyu's got that in him. To go that cut, man, I didn't even like watching it for flipping 12 rounds, let alone having it. We know that kid's got the dog in him. He's not a silver spoon kid that's not up for a gut check. Whereas just going back to 2 of the other guys that we've spoke about, Ben and Eubank, them 2 haven't been gut checked, have they? I mean, Chris Eubank Jr. got stopped by Liam Smith and said he got elbowed, and it were a lot of excuses rather than just saying he got beat. Whereas Stu's been gut checked, and we know that he can be in a dogfight. So I'm anticipating him winning, but I'm anticipating it being tough.
100%. Yeah, Boots is right in that mix, Pat, as well. I think he'll go up to 154 after he fights Karen on November the 9th. I agree with you. I think he's going straight into that mix after that. 154 is on fire. It is probably one of the best divisions in the sport right now. After it was 147, wasn't it, for all those years? That was the marquee division. We're back now where 154's got Crawford, Spence, Tszyu, Fundora. The fight on December the 21st, Madrimov and Boachuk, which is going to be an absolute cracker. Virgil Ortiz is in there. It's a cracking division right now, 154.
Yeah. One of the best in boxing, like you just said, mate. And there's so many matchups to make.
And this time next year, us at Boxer, we've got some good 147 coming through. We've got some at 154. So, keep your eyes peeled. Sorry,
keep your eye on it.
I'm just practicing for my future job as head of boxing for Boxer.
Moving on from Jay's sales pitch to Ben Shalom. William Skull and Vladimir Shishkin are fighting for the vacant IBF Super Middleweight Championship that Canelo famously vacated to fight Berlanga. Any interest in this one, boys? I personally don't.
None whatsoever.
So it's a much of a nothingness, isn't it? You're not going to see Canelo clambering to fight the winner.
Winners going to sell themselves for as much money as possible.
Do you know what I mean, though? Chris Eubank Jr., there's a prime opportunity there for him to get a world title. I've got 4 kids, mate, so obviously not.
Look, it's a much
fight talk pulling out a purse bid since 2024.
I think going back to this
the belt to Caleb Plant or Canelo in a undisputed fight. That's all this fight's for, really, isn't it?
Yeah,
I imagine Caleb Plant fighting the winner of first half of next year
and beating him,
regardless of whether it's Skull or Shishkin. I imagine Plant fighting him.
Just briefly as well, I forgot to mention earlier, boys. Stop this now, Eubank Jr.'s sales talk. Love it, Pat. I forgot to mention, of course, the Japanese fights that happened last weekend. Myself and Jay did the Takuma Inoue against Tatsumi fight. That was a fun fight and a decent upset, Jay.
Great fight. Tatsumi did what he said he was going to do. He said he was going to, walk through the fire and get the win. Or at least that's what the subtitles said. He just out-hustled Inoue. Inoue looked void of ideas after 4 or 5 rounds. He just didn't know what to do. Tatsumi hit harder and was there to rip that title away, and he proved a lot of people wrong. He wasn't the favourite going into the fight, but for me, he hit harder, just had more ideas. As I say, Inoue was more interested in showing off and trying to please the crowd. And before he realised it, the fight was slipping away from him. And he just couldn't get it back. And the right man won the fight for me.
Yeah, definitely. And then moving on to what was meant to happen was Takuma Inoue is meant to beat Tatsumi. And then Junto Nakatani fought Salapat yesterday and did what he was meant to do and won in 6 or 7 rounds. And then the two of them were probably on a collision course. And then what was meant to happen was Inoue's Junto was meant to beat Takuma Inoue, and then Naoya Inoue is meant to fight Junto, which they're probably still on a collision course. But Inoue is going to be fighting Sam Goodman, probably. I think that's going to purse bids on 2 weeks today, October the 29th. I read earlier in December. And then Junto and Inoue are going to be both headlining in Vegas on a they're both main eventing kind of thing. And then next October, we're going to get them both in the Tokyo Dome. But so we'll just have to see who Junto's going to fight now. But boys, that fight's one of the most mouth-watering fights in the sport for me right now. Junto Nakatani looks like a killer himself.
I knew he's in a fight. I knew he's in a dog fight for the first time ever.
He's massive for 118 as well. Nakatani is massive, so he'll have no problem. Super bantamweight.
For once, I'm not sure whether Inoue can just walk through him, because we saw the trouble he had with Danair.
This fight.
We saw the trouble he had with Danair, who's got speed and power. Nakatani's got speed and power, the same as Inoue. Inoue's strengths are he's physically fit, he's fast, and he's very, very powerful. When he's fought people that have a similar kind of power, similar kind of speed, which is very rare, he's in a bit of a dogfight. Do you know what I mean? And he struggled at times against
TJ Dehaney.
I mean, there were times in that fight that he didn't look the best, but, he did what he had to do. I think that's I won't say a 50-50 fight, but I'm leaning towards a
60-40 to Inoue for me.
Yeah.
Fight.
60-40.
Look, it's a sexy fight to make. It's huge in Japan. It's got will garner huge interest from a boxing audience as well in America, over in Europe. Just needs to get made. If Inoue is going to fight Sam Goodman in December, fight Sam Goodman in December and then look for this fight next year. Don't delay the Sam Goodman fight into next year and let things drag out. Make this fight, because it's a hell of a fight. It's one of the best in boxing in any weight class.
Yeah, I agree.
Definitely, yeah. Hopefully, we'll see that towards the back end. Well, probably this time next year, I would say for that one. But just looking at the schedule, then before we kind of wrap things up, you got obviously this weekend we've covered Jack Catterall's coming up next weekend, I believe, isn't it, against Regis Prograis? Yep. Looking forward to that one. Obviously, we spoke about that fight a little bit earlier on. Then you've got Shaki Foster, I believe, against Conceição. Is that the rematch the week after that? I believe so. And then you've got Boots Ennis against Karen Chikadzian and Bam Rodriguez. Who's Bam fighting again? His name's beating me. That's then. Then you have the Riyadh season Latino, Billum Smith against Zerdo on November the 16th. There's a UK show, I believe, on the 23rd of November. I can't quite remember, but it's all gearing up.
Edwards and Yafai.
Edwards and Yafai is the
30th, isn't it? 30th of November.
2nd of November is Liam Davis.
Liam Davis, Shabazz Masood. That's the one, Liam. Yeah, I missed that one out. But yeah, it's all gearing towards December the 21st, isn't it now, boys? That's where the glamour is, isn't it? The undercard's been announced. I know we covered a lot of that last week, didn't we? The undercard announcement.
Yeah. We've done the full undercard here.
Yeah,
that not was the best of by a long
it
shot.
wasn't great viewing, was it at all? Seeing the undercard for that. But on the flip side, we get Fury Usyk the rematch.
We've been spoiled these.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
About time we have just to bring it down to earth with the bang.
Yeah, of course. Before we go, lads, whilst we've been on air doing this tonight, there is a rumor coming out that Joshua Buatsi has left Boxer and signed with Queensbury.
What?
I heard that in the week. I heard he was leaving Boxer.
Yeah.
Somebody had said something to him and he went all weird when they said it.
So Frank is reportedly going to announce a big Wembley Arena card for the 7th of December, which is going to be his last domestic one of the year. This news has now come out. I do wonder if we're going to see Joshua Buatsi headlining that.
Oh, man, Ben Shalom will be furious.
Here's a theory. Yard has just crossed the boards to Boxer, supposedly only for this fight. Fighter for a fighter. Frank Warren said, we'll take one of your light heavyweights for you to have Anthony Yards, and he's gone for Joshua Buatsi.
What? That's just that's ridiculous. It's right. I just had a little look there, Liam. That's shocking. And
it's shocked.
It's swap positions. They've swapped positions for this fight now. What?
But genuinely, is that what's going to happen? If that is true, if that does get announced, apparently the announcement for the December 7th card is coming next week. Are we going to get a biggest shock of the year? One of the biggest shocks of the year, anyway. British.
I just would sum up boxing though on the whole, wouldn't it? So
allowing one of your marquee fights.
They've just switched positions, and now we're no closer to Anthony Yarde versus Joshua Buatsi because they're on other sides of the divide again, but the wrong way. So hang on. How about this then, Jay? You'll like this. Part of the settlement for Yarde going to Boxer. How about Warren's got Ben Shalom all over the place here. Give me Buatsi and I'll let you off.
I actually wouldn't surprise me if that's been a part of it. Yarde is going to
give me Buatsi and I'll let you off with the Yarde thing.
Well, I don't believe the Yarde thing is as cut and dry as they're making out. He can't go to Boxer without the permission of somebody within Queensbury, because the legal case would be too costly for him. And I don't believe he'd want to sour the waters as such, or muddy the waters as such. I just think that it's just a mess, man. It's just a fucking mess.
And Ben Shalom are going to war with each other right now, aren't they?
But Ben Shalom hasn't got what it takes to go to war with Frank. He hasn't got any fighters left. He hasn't got the kudos within the industry. He hasn't got the respect within the industry. Do you know what? I feel sorry for him, man. I really do. I will do a 50% of my fee. I'll be even cheaper for you, Ben. Get me involved, man, and I'll do Frank for you.
Frank did promise repercussions, Luca. You're right. And he said it with a little twinkle in his eye as well. He maybe had this up his sleeve for a little while. Now he beat his guy Willie Hutchison, and Frank's left with he went in with the champion and left with the champion Don King style. Frank Warren will pull karma bites hard against Ben Shalom and talks that feud will continue. That feud is just bubbling now, isn't it? Frank Warren and Ben Shalom. Like it's getting a little bit crazy. And Liam, that rumor looks like it's got serious weight. That isn't hearsay. That's got proper. That's happening. That Buatsi's joining Queensbury. It's out there.
I'll tell you what. Leslie, does that?
I think so. Yeah, I think it makes.
Well, he's been to Matchroom, Queensbury, and Boxer now.
just lapping the fields. He's just lapping the field
Yeah.
in the UK.
Did Matchroom have him originally?
Matchroom turned him pro.
So he left.
Got rid of him.
He left. Matchroom did renew his contract.
No,
So he went over.
Did they have a fallout about that? Eddie and Boatti.
There was a fallout over what fights were promised and weren't delivered towards the end of his last
Yeah,
contract.
because it was Bivol, wasn't it? Was it not if we had to do Bivol?
Yeah, which is where the leverage came from moving over to Boxer. I mean, sums up boxing. I think that's as good a place as any to leave it for this week, isn't it? Flipping hell. Boatti.
Sounds like
Well, I did not expect to be hearing that. We'll keep an eye on that. Obviously, I think the potential for another live stream towards the end of the week if we get official confirmation on that, because we could go all night on that one. But yeah, we'll leave it there. Just a few things to do. First of all, to thank everyone that's tuned in. Obviously, regulars: Luca, DJ, Pat, Hawkan, Mr. Neutral, Wayne Herman's there. Mr. Crick stopped by. Thanks very much for that. Dan Evans, of course. Mr. J's Fight Talks, even in the comments. Don't know who that is, but thanks. Dave over at Dope. Cheers, Dave. Absolute Boxing was here tonight, and I think that's it. So massive thanks, guys.
Thank you, everyone.
A few housekeeping things. We're going to be. We'll probably do a live watch along for Sam Gilly. He's fighting McGann, isn't he, on Friday night on the TNT Sports card. We'll maybe do a cheeky watch along for that. Will definitely be about for Adam Azim versus O'Hara Davis. We'll definitely do that because that should be a really intriguing fight. Not too sure about Yard versus Vilkans, I think his name was, if I remember off the top of my head. Not too sure about that one, but we'll definitely do Adam Azim. And Tim Zhu against Murtazaliev, I'll definitely be there for it. I think the boys might be there for it too. I'm not missing out on that one. It's going to be a four. It's on East Coast time, so hopefully the main event won't be too bad. But yeah, we'll hopefully do that. Follow at Jay's Fight Talk at Liam_Tully9, should I say. Check out obviously Jay's Fight Talk YouTube channel. Check out Liam's Fight Night picks. What time's it dropping tomorrow, mate?
Lunchtime tomorrow, 1 o'clock-ish tomorrow.
I'm not on it this week, by the way, so don't avoid it.
Jay's contracts ran out for.
My contracts ran out. It was
can't afford him.
They couldn't afford
him anymore.
So I'm available on a free transfer, but no, it will be better than it was last week and the week before. So yeah, make sure you tune in to Liam's Fight Night picks over on STBX.
Absolutely, Pat. Until next time, take care. Have a good evening, my friend. Everybody else, massive thanks.
Thanks, everyone.
Not boxer pulling out, Luca said. That's not Luca. Yeah, on that note, we'll see everybody same time next week.
Cheers, everybody.